women who are part of the G4G Monitoring and Evaluation Committee. So I just want to know so far who was on last week. I can see some familiar faces, some familiar names, but I also want to know who's on for the first time this week so that we can give you some flowers for joining us. I hope you had only good things and that's why you're here. So just post in the chat function a 1 if you were here last week and a 2 if you're here for the first time. So I'm posting 1. I was here last week. Yes, lots of ones. Welcome back. Welcome back. That's wonderful. Welcome back, ladies. Welcome, Doreen. I can see you. You're very welcome to this session. And I'm sure we're going to get many ladies. Thank you, Lillian. The excitement in your text is very, like, I had to come back. I'm here for the second. I was here last week. So it's a pleasure to be enjoying your company again. So without much further ado, we're going to go right into using one of the tools that those of you who were here last week are familiar with, and that tool is a Mentimeter. And Mary is going to share this tool. Mary is from Nairobi, Kenya. It's the only capital city with a national park in the middle, right in the middle. There is, you can hear the lions roar. Is that true?
Yeah,
So
yes,
Mary,
you can.
thank you, Judith, for verifying. So as Mary prepares to share the screen, the question that we're going to be asking is a very simple one. Use one word to describe how you're feeling this morning. And how do we get access to the Mentimeter? First of all, you can go to mentimeter.com and put in the code that you're using, that is on the top. But she's also going to copy a link and post it into the chat function. She's copying a link and she's posting it into the chat function. And once she does that, you will be able to get direct access to the link. And there it is. Thank you so much. So I've clicked on it and it's taken me to my web browser. If you're using a phone, this is also very easy to use. And I am just going to put in my word, one word to describe how I'm feeling this morning.
They can also like scan the code on the screen if they're not able to go directly.
Thank you, Mary. So ladies, if you could pick up your phone, you can't see my phone now because of my virtual background. I'm in a virtual office, but if you can use your camera, just open your camera and let the camera, you can see my camera now. I'm picking up the QR code on the screen. I picked it up and I'm opening it and I'm going to put in another word. So Mary, you can remove the QR code and we see that the words come in. I'm putting in another word. Okay. Yes. All right, we can see a lot of people are excited. The way this word cloud works is that the more the word is input, the bigger it gets. So I can see a lot of excitement. Judith, the link is going to be reposted. I can see someone saying, I can't see the link. Can someone help me repost the link kindly? So lots of us are feeling enthusiastic, happy, inspired, motivated, expectant, and interested. Yes, I can see more people. There are 7 people who've used the tool and we're 42 ladies on the call. So I'm just going to let us get to at least 20. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Mary. You've posted the link again. All you have to do, ladies, is click the link, which is in the chat function of Zoom, and then you will be able to go to the Mentimeter link. It will open in your web browser, and you will be able to put in the word. So we have 10 ladies so far who've posted. Thank you. As excited is still the keyword. Happy, yes. All right. Expectant. I love that. Grand. Wow. Amped. Okay. Like there's an electric charge. Thank you, ladies. I see more words coming in. Anxious. All right. I want to assure you that that team is more than ready to calm any anxiety and work with you to make it an awesome experience. So motivated. Thank you, ladies. 27 people have filled in the Mentimeter. I want to thank you very much for that. So what will happen is that Mary will share these words and we shall make a banner of them and it shall be part of our toolkit that we send to you. you know, to share what was the experience, what was the mood in the room in the second session. My two words are still looking very big. There's excitement. I'm excited because we spend a lot of time preparing, we spend a lot of time planning, and when the day dawns and when the curtains rise, it's amazing to be, you know, beginning, you know, to have this conversation. So I know most of you are as plugged in as I am, as amped as I am, and I'm sure we're going to finish these 4 hours together and still be as excited at the end. Thank you very much, Mary, for sharing the slides. Okay. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. We had 33 respondents filling in the Mentimeter. Okay, so now we're going to use another tool. And really what we're demonstrating, ladies, is that M&E does not have to be boring. M&E is fun. And you can use these tools very easily in your countries. And we're more than happy to come in and help you. So we're going to use another tool. This is a tool that most of you are familiar with. It's a Zoom poll. And as Rita pops up the poll, it's just going to be questions that you're familiar with. I know many people are here for the second time. And for those of you who are here for the first time, quickly the question is asking, which monitoring and evaluation tools are you currently using in your country? And you can click on as many as you're familiar with. So Tim, which was here first time last Saturday, we went through the mentor registration tool. We went through the mentee baseline and registration tool. We went through the mentor feedback form. We went through the mentee feedback form. Now, I know there's new language, new tools which are being introduced. You may or may not be using a cohort session report. You may or may not be familiar with a large circle form. You may or may not be familiar with the training report and the fundraising report, but you're in the right place because we're going to go into them and we're going to share about how we use them, why we use them, when we use them, and what we do with the data that we use. So please click on the link. I can see 4 of 41 have submitted a report. I know the hosts can't vote, but I know that the hosts are represented by different members from their countries. Okay, thank you, ladies. Can see lots of input coming in. Thank you. Okay, we have 9 ladies who've given us their comments. Rita, I guess we should have put as Anan. Please indicate which M&E tools you're using, and we should have put. I'm just smiling because I'm waiting for.
There's some new countries that have never even, you know, used it. Yeah. Diana, I've just realized that the second question has also come up and people have started responding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the second question. All right, I've seen it. So the second question, I'll just go into it a bit, is which scenario best describes your country's M&E? So if you're from Zimbabwe, think only Zimbabwe. Don't try and say, oh, I picked this up. I remember in South Africa, they were talking about this. If you're from Uganda, think only of what's happening in Uganda. And the question is, what kind of practices are you currently operationalizing when it comes to M&E? The first one is each cohort has someone designated to collect data and prepare reports. The second one is some cohorts have someone designated to collect data and prepare reports. And the third option is we collect data after each session, but we do not report. The fourth one is we sometimes collect data and sometimes report. And then the fifth one is we prepare a cohort or circle report at the end of the 6 modules. And the last question is we do not collect data and we do not report. And so far we don't have anyone who's commenting on that, but we have 20 ladies who've given us responses. I'm hoping for a 30, you know, can I have 30 ladies? Belinda, if you scroll down, if you're using a phone, you just scroll down. If you're using your laptop, after the first question, just scroll down using the whatever function you have on the face of your device, and you should be able to see it. Please let me know in the chat if you can't see the second question. And please, Belinda, let me know if you can see the second poll question. I'm trying to look for your, I'm looking for your face. Is your video on? Last time you were with somebody, you were having a party. I'm smiling. You were with a friend, and we wished we could be there.
Yeah, I still can't see it. I answered the first question, but I can't see the second one. But it says poll in progress. Okay, I get it. I clicked on top. Okay.
Okay,
excellent. Cool. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Gloria. Thank you. So what happens is you should be able to see something which says poll in progress, and you should click on it. Okay, Caroline, I can see you're saying you cannot see. Can you see question 1 at the very least? Gloria, Carol, can you see question 1?
I saw question 1 and I submitted. I hope it went. But now I can't see question 2. Should I click on polls?
Yes, try and click on poll again.
Okay, yeah. I can, it's still question 1.
Now, when you open question 1, scroll.
Yeah. Okay, I'm scrolling.
To the bottom.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hey. All right, so we're going to have some more comments, but right now we have 25 ladies. Thank you, ladies, for giving us your feedback. Thank you for giving us your questions. And just from the Facebook,
should I share the poll because they can't see it, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Edit and share results. There we go. Very interesting.
Okay. So Rita, just take us through the results.
Yeah, it's can you guys see them? Can you see the results? Okay, really good. The good thing is that everyone seems to be reporting. So the mentor feedback form seems to take the cup. 85% of us are reporting on it. So that's the highest result. We're also doing a lot of mentee feedback form collection. That comes right after. So we're good at collecting feedback after the sessions. And it looks like a number of us are registering our mentors. And then only 63% registering mentees. I'll not lie to you, that's way better than I had expected, which is really good. The cohort session reports as well, 50%. So you guys are in the right room. Today we are going to unpack, Steffi is going to help us understand how to prepare a session report. And then the large circle forms, I'm not surprised because that's a new introduction. Training reports, yes. I'm interested, funny, there is data, Diana, we didn't think we'd find data for fundraising reports, communications reports, partnership reports, but some countries seem to be reporting on that, which is fantastic. In terms of the scenario that best describes, this is really good, guys. Each cohort has someone designated to collect data and prepare reports. So at least 33% of us, a third of the people in the room have that as a standard process. And then that is followed by, we prepare a circle or cohort report at the end of the 6 modules. That one is at 22%. And then 11%, some have cohorts designated. And then others, we collect data, but after each session, but do not report is what the answer is supposed to be. Okay. So this is an area for improvement. Huh? And if you look at it, this means that we now have the tools. It's the discipline and the behavior around using the tools that we need to address. That's what this second question is about. So we all need to think about, if I'm running a cohort or a circle, who are the people who are driving the data collection and the reporting process? And we need to differentiate between the two. Who collects the information, for instance, who designs the feedback form, makes sure the information comes through, but then who is it who generates the report? Okay, fantastic. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you very much, Rita. Ladies, as we start this session, I just hope that you're in the right frame of mind to dig in, but I just want you to put your finger or thumb on your pulse, right at your wrist. Put your thumb or finger on your pulse. You might not be able to feel it, but if you have the know-how, you can actually begin to measure your pulse, the pulse of your heart. And what is important with what we're trying to do is we're saying G4G is a living space because we are part of the people who make it a living space. And monitoring, we're just trying to keep a finger on the pulse. And that's what we're doing. And then we ask ourselves, then what? So what if my pulse is at a certain rate? The people who know how can analyze that data and make a diagnosis. And again, we're going to go deeper into that today. Once we have the data, then what? And as you go into this space, I want you to know that all questions are welcome. You can post your questions in the chat function and the team will speak to them. And the team comes from a multiple, you know, we are multidisciplinary and we have come from different facets of different countries and different spaces, and we are here for you. So please feel at home, please feel comfortable. I would like to invite the gorgeous Judith. Judith is also from Nairobi, Kenya, and she's just going to bring us up to pace from where we dropped off last time. Judith, over to you.
Good morning, ladies, and thank you, Diana. It's so nice to see so many of you. We are 52 of us. We formed a village, so welcome, all of us. Flowers, good morning, good afternoon for the people in the Far East. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I'd like to know how many countries are represented in our call today. So can you please write in the chat group so that I can see the number of countries that we have represented today. So we have Uganda, we have Kenya, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, France, Botswana, Uganda. So France, South Africa. So I'll try and say as many hellos. Sebona. And there's of course Jambo, bonjour. Zimbabwe, I've forgotten. I think I knew it some times ago. Botswana. So I'm trying to write them down. South Africa. And of course, Kenya is online. Nailed the Zulu. Okay, thank you. There's Zambia. So ladies, I saw a lot of ones when we were starting the meeting. So several of you were here last week. And so several of you saw the homework that we had. And the homework was completing the action plan, which we said was a tool that is going to help the country team set up the M&E process and start tracking it. So of all the countries that are registered and participated last week, Uganda, France, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Kenya, Zambia, how many of the countries have actually worked on the action plan? Can I see that on the chat? How many of us worked on the action plan? South Africa? Is that a confirmation? Okay. Botswana, excellent. Which other country worked on it? Kenya, good. Uganda, yes. Which other country? Okay, Zambia, not yet. Okay, so now let's look at the experiences that we had from the countries that participated. Botswana, good morning. Who is our Botswana representative? Please switch on and let me see you.
Good morning, Judith. Good morning, this is Lillian.
Good morning, Lillian. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. So I can't put my picture on as usual. I don't have my access to my camera, but for Botswana, look, Botswana is starting out. We are fairly new. We're putting a lot of systems and processes in place, and it takes time. You know, our team it's really, really expanding. We now have about 50 people in our team from different committees. So the draft is there, and it's an issue of, you know, making sure that all the committee members, they have an input on the draft, which is our next agenda going into next week. We need to finalize the agenda. So I think, finalize the draft. So we have made that, but we are not where we need to be yet. Thanks, Judith.
Okay, as you worked on and you've been working on it, what can you say has been a highlight, a positive, going through the process of working through the action plan?
Absolutely. Look, it has really been very exciting. I'm one person who likes working with this. I like it when things are organized. And the monitoring and evaluation, the global document, it really has put perspective in terms of if Botswana, we are to put together a very strong G4G network, what do we need to do step by step? So I think I'm very, very excited. Everything makes sense now because we've been doing things haphazard. Now we are beginning to be more organized. Thanks.
Excellent. And the last question for you, Lillian, can you cite one challenge that you experienced while working on the action plan?
Well, the one challenge I think at the moment is the rest of the team's participation, because, you know, everyone is very busy.
Yes.
Everyone has got other commitment, work and family and other things as well. So going forward, we have designated Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m. Whoever can come for the meeting to look at the document, to decide on the document, they can come. Those that cannot come, the meeting is a Zoom meeting, it's being recorded, and then it will be shared across. So I think at the moment, yet not being able to have the entire team participating in the document because of competing commitments. However, it's an ongoing process. And you know, sometimes you have a deadline to something, but it takes longer than you would have thought because, you know, people have to be consulted and make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lillian. Thank you, Botswana, Team Botswana, for sharing what you have gone through. Congratulations that you have started the process. The most important thing is that you have started. And a lot of the issues that you're talking about are issues that you come along in the real world when you're doing M&E. Highlights of what Botswana has said is that it's exciting, it is giving perspective and is making them more organized. And as a challenge, participation. So to mitigate that, they have then designated a time when the team gets to come together. So well done, congratulations. We look forward to seeing what the final product is. Remember that the action plan is a living document. And as you go along, you will continue to fill it in and to grow it. So thank you very much, Team Botswana. So next, after Botswana, Team Kenya. Team Kenya, good morning. Habari gani, good morning. Team Kenya. I believe it's, is it Beryl or Belinda who's speaking?
Good morning, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Beryl. How are you?
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
I'm very fine, thank you. How are you?
We're very well.
Good, so good. Sorry, I had a bit of a microphone issue, but I'm now available I'm connected using my phone.
Excellent.
So we had a fruitful discussion this Asante. We seem to have a bit of a, what is it called? Delay on the presentation, rather, but not to worry. We did have a discussion early this week on Thursday. We had Mary. Thank you, Mary, for taking us through that. And we also had Betty joining us for that discussion. And we went through the assignment in its entirety, whereby we're able to define the different items and action plan for the M&E, who was responsible, the particular timeline, and the progress updates and comments. Then we divided it into 7 different items, which was to customize the M&E plan for Kenya. The person responsible for this would be the M&E lead, and the projected timeline for it is May. And of course, so progress update will be taken through the M&E group M&E committee setup. Responsible was the country lead, and the anticipated deadline is mid-May. So just find out, do I take you through the entire list?
No, you don't need to, but it looks like maybe you can just highlight the items that you discussed and then give us at least a few positives and what of the experience you went through doing this, working through the different areas that you did.
Okay, so for the highlight was really much identifying what actions we needed to take and the persons responsible. the timelines and the progress update, which I think is at the heart of M&E, because you need to be able to identify what you want to do, define who's going to be responsible for it, and every action must have a timeline to it, or else it's not smart. Okay. And then of course, progress update to be able to make any changes if need be, or update on any good items that are happening. So that was the essence of the meeting that we had. The positive about this is basically it's setting the pace, it's setting the way we would do things. I remember during the training last week, I think I was the one who mentioned that M&E comes at the end of any project, but after the training, we learned that it's something that actually starts from the beginning of the project and runs with it. So this is a good place to start, and I believe we started it quite well. I'm very new in G4G, so I just joined it in January. So for me, seeing how this is being run, it's very professional, it's very organized. It's good. I'm very, very excited to be not just part of G4G, but also part of the M&E. I'm an analyst by profession, so this is at the heart of what I do. So it was a good experience. I look forward to having more of this.
Thank you, Beryl. So what about a challenge? What did you experience any challenges, and speak to one challenge that you experienced as a team?
I would say, given that it was my first meeting, the first thing I saw was unavailability of people, because you were very few in the first meeting. It would have been good to have more people. So probably that's something to work on going forward, to identify why the others didn't join, and to see how we can have more people joining, and having an effective reporting system. That was the only one I saw at that time, given I was the first one. Maybe Mary and Betty can give a bit more, given they've been there for longer.
Thank you. I think we will go with that so that we're able to also hear from the other countries. But an important thing that I heard from her, I heard her talking about it was an opportunity to think through and give people to designate responsibles, timelines, and the progress. And she mentioned that this is the beginning of M&E, so that we are able to track and we're able to grow. So thank you very much, Team Kenya. And again, as Team Botswana noted, availability of participants. So perhaps Team Kenya, you can come up with the mitigating action that Botswana has come up with, and maybe you can share ideas of designated meeting time. So then maybe availability, we are able to plan better. So thank you very much. Team South Africa. Who is speaking for Team South Africa?
Any of my team want to go? I can put up the slide. Gloria? Who was in the meeting? Rivka, Kini, Aka? Am I alone in here? I see them. Kini, Kinelwe?
Okay, I can go.
Hi.
Okay, Gloria, thank you.
You didn't call my name, so.
Oh,
sorry. Okay, go ahead, Gloria. Sorry, my connection.
Okay, Gloria, go for it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, Team South Africa met, I think it was on Thursday. And the challenge that we had is just that it was not everybody who participated, because Team South Africa was hectic with some of their cohorts. So everyone was busy, but fortunately, there is a session that is coming for Team South Africa on Saturday, the 1st. However, the team that was there managed to come up with something, as you can see, what we are sharing now.
Yes.
Items, specification, responsible people, as well as comments on the site. It's not yet completed, but we're gonna work on it this coming Saturday. For example, the first item that we have is customized M&E plan for South Africa. And the specs, it will be to review the global M&E plan, adjust that for South African context. So we will make sure that it's aligned to the
Yes.
South African ears. And then the responsible person is our lovely Rita. And deadline for her is just around the corner on the 30th, which is next week, Friday.
Okay.
Wait. I'm proud to say it's actually done. I'm just about to share it with everyone. And I'll also be happy to share it with other countries in case people want to see what it means to customize for the content. Thank you, Gloria.
Okay.
All right. So do you want me to go ahead or you want to show the completed one?
No.
Maybe show us the
more. You want the completed one?
No, the highlights, you know, you can skim just through so that we can see the highlights of the items that you discussed, and then share with us, as you're doing that, share with us the positive, what your experience in actually completing this, the action plan.
Okay, so in terms of the items, you can see we need to have active quality cohorts reporting, hold M&E sessions for South African mentors, set up M&E committees, and assess effectiveness of the tools. Assess effectiveness of the tools and hold report writing sessions. So these are the items that we looked at. And the positive about it is because it is well structured. You can see that we will be able to do the step-by-step following the M&E process. I think this is where I can end. And we have people that are going to be responsible. Rita, Kineilwe, Val, those are our leaders in South Africa. And I think all of us, as well as cohort teams, mentors, we will be participating accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you, Team South Africa. One thing that I have noted, and I think Team Kenya also mentioned the same, is customizing of the M&E plan. The M&E plan is global and has been done at a very high level by people from all over the world. One of the things to make M&E effective, you need to contextualize it to your situation. So the step of starting to contextualize it to your specific situation, looking at all the indicators, looking to see how can I contribute to this indicator? Is this indicator valid or not valid? Should I overlook it or should I go about it in another way? That is such an important step. So customizing the M&E to fit your situation is very good. The second thing that Rita alluded to, in fact, she said, is that part of the reason why we are talking about the show and tell is not only to give the countries bragging rights, so to speak, but it's a learning opportunity. The best learning sometimes is done across peers. So if you think of learning as an inverted T, you have the T, the top going up, which is to the lecturer, the gurus, or whomever it is that has knowledge, but it's also horizontal. You learn from one another. So to learn, we need both aspects. We need to learn from those that are experts, like Rita, for example, and others, and you can read up, you can Google a lot of information, and we can also learn from the experiences across the board, from the different countries. One theme that I have seen across the countries is participation, availability. So perhaps this is something we can all sit together and think about and see how can we mitigate it. Team Uganda, Oriatia. Now I remember that. Oriatia, Team Uganda.
Thank you so much, Judith. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Thank you. I apologize. I will not put on my video just because of the internet connection. Okay. But however, this process has been such a blessing and such an important part of G4G, especially in our country, as it is in all the other countries. It's always good as women to come together and learn from each other. Most of the highlights have been spoken about in other countries, but something that you mentioned that is very important, customizing the M&E for your particular country, for your particular cohort. And so this is something that we discussed as a team. We have various cohorts in Uganda ranging from high school students to the corporate. How do we make sure that the M&E captures each and every of those particular cohorts? That was something that, I mean, we don't have all the answers at the moment, but as you mentioned, it's a living document. As we move along, we can improve on it, and depending on the different types of cohorts that we have. And of course, as Beryl mentioned, some of the challenges is just getting that one particular time where everyone can come together and discuss this M&E document. So that has been a challenge, but hopefully as we move along, we will come together and set that particular time. Of course, some people may not be able to attend, but I love what the lady, I think she's called Lillian from Botswana, who mentioned that, record the sessions and share them out with the team. If they cannot meet, then keep them part of the team, And so that was really one of the challenges. One of the good points is the fact that the ladies are familiar with the tools. So that's good for us. So now how do we start the process from the beginning, not wait until the end? That was something that I loved to hear from the beginning. How do we bring it in the beginning and make sure that we do this M&E process? I'm so passionate about M&E because as a lecturer, I feel like I need to, when I'm giving my reports, I want to be able to do it in a systematic way such that I can draw the attention of the people that I'm reporting to. So it has really been a lovely process for us at the Ugandan team with M&E. So thank you for this opportunity. We hope as the Ugandan team to get the support from, of course, professional coaches. We have Rita. So I mean, I look forward to it. I look forward to this journey. I feel like it's just beginning, but we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Margaret. So Margaret mentions one important aspect, familiarization of the documents and the tools. It is so important that we are aware of what it is. And our mother document is the M&E results framework, the M&E results matrix that was already shared with the M&E plan. It is so important that we use this as our reference document and as our guide as we go on, because unless we know it, we cannot customize it. We will not know where we are going or why we are doing it that way. So ladies, I encourage you to regularly visit those documents and see how we can familiarize, internalize it, then bring it down to our context and then start working with it in our context. Well done, Team Uganda. And again, we have the issue of participation. Now, I want to ask the countries that have not started on the work already. We have Team France. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
How are
you? I'm okay. How are you?
I'm very well. So Miriam, when you hear us and when you hear the other teams talking about their experiences, what does that make you feel? Does that encourage you?
That makes me feel jealous that you guys have a team for now. My team is devastated right now. So we didn't have time to really, we're a very small team and the lockdown and the number of cases of COVID has been really, really bad. And I'm working mostly with the young women who are in work in law. So there was a lot of adjustments to make. So unfortunately, we weren't able to have them participate. What they were really interested in, the only thing that we did is that I mentioned that we had our M&E training this week. And so what we agreed is that after we do after I do the 3 sessions, we'll do a session. And so that I familiarize them already with M&E because a lot of them don't work in that realm. So they don't know what it is, why we do the things, and really go through the process with them. And it's really exciting. And it makes me feel jealous that you guys have such large teams, but we need to start somewhere. So it's really exciting and I'm enthusiastic about that. And I was happy to see that just from the sharing the fact that I would explain what is M&E, there was a lot of positive reception on that, on their part. And they were enthusiastic about learning what it is. So that's where we are.
Exactly. And you've already started because you're already sensitizing the team on it. So go for it. Well done. And remember, this is a village we now have, and your village mates are going to be here for you all the time. Rita, do you have a question?
No, I have a comment for Mimi. Sometimes
you're
actually in an advantageous position when you follow the others who first
Exactly.
they fall, they have to refine things. So you're actually coming at a good time.
Yes.
But I also think this process is it's not a competition. It is really, I think I said it in the beginning, the M&E system will only be successful if every country is reporting. What does it mean? It means that those of us who have gone ahead, stumbled, fallen, you build on our experiences, and we remain available to mentor and to coach. I don't think we can be teaching mentoring in G4G and then we don't behave that way amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
So we remain available for you. And for me, one of the things I'm really happy about is the abundance of spirit and generosity of the women in the room today. Yeah. So we're behind you, Mimi.
Couldn't have said it better. Team Zambia, your comments. Good morning,
Hi,
Team
Judith.
Zambia. Yes.
Hi. Oh, no.
Good morning, Maria.
Morning. Okay, for Team Zambia, I think we only
Maria
started. Hi, I'm
yeah.
here. Hi, Namchana. I'm here. Hi, for Team Zambia, I think
Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, we only started yesterday. The reason being we had mentors training. I know most of you know the project that we have with CIDAS, so we are trying to fast track things so that we have a number of mentees, mentors actually mentored for that program. So that caused the delay, but from my case, I think we really had to look at what we've already discussed, and then within the week, we can come up with a plan now and customize.
Thank you, Maria, and congratulations on your project.
Can I add on?
Okay, yes. Namkana?
Namchana, pronounced as if there's an H.
Okay.
Just to add that, yes, thank you so much, Judith. Just to add that the level of enthusiasm in Zambia is amazing. In this room, there's 10 of us out of 59. And if you rate that, I think that's more than 150%. So, and a good number also attended the first session. So we are really keen and should be able to make some waves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Zambia. And congratulations for your project. We are also excited for you, and we look forward to seeing what comes of it and how it rolls out, because that is also going to be an inspiration for the rest of us. Team Zambia, please document it for us so that we can learn, so that we can understand how you go out, what are the pitfalls, what are the successes, so that we can be better together. So Team Zambia, we look forward to hearing more from you and seeing how this is evolving. So thank you, Team Zambia. Team Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much.
Team Zimbabwe.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And then we'll be able to.
Team Zimbabwe. Going once.
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry for that.
Okay.
Yes, we, just like Miriam had said, we were planning on actually, after finishing this, I'll have to go and educate the rest of the team so that we can all get on the same page and get people who can actually, from what has been said with the other teams, designate responsible people that will go for the M&E process. So yes, that's what I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Zimbabwe. Thank you so much. Ladies, thank you. We all deserve flowers. Flowers to ourselves, flowers to Team Uganda, France, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Kenya, and Zambia, because you have done a good job. The first thing and the most important thing is to take that first step, and you've done it, which is already something. So keep going. And remember, we are a village. We're here to help one another. We learn from different aspects, from the Googles, from the experts, but we also learn horizontally amongst ourselves. So let's go on and keep working at it. You can reach out to any of the facilitators and even Rita, who's our team leader, and then we can see how we can help when we can help to the extent possible. But the most important thing is to move, to start the process. So thank you very much and all the very best. Diana?
Thank you very much, Judith. Let's give flowers to Judith, like the flower in her hair, very bright. And you took us through very, very well. And I would like to invite a lady from Zimbabwe, Harare, right? She's Crispin, and she's going to take us through, another plenary session, because as I said, we're here for you and we are in this together. And Crispin is really just going to be touching on, as I said, feel your pulse. Now we begin collecting data. We begin to understand that, my pulse is, my heart rate is this, my temperature is this, then what? So she's going to take us through the process of collection, reporting, analysis, and just going to challenge you to share your highs, your lows, and what we can learn from each other. So welcome, Crispin. And ladies, please use the chat function and you can put up your hand as we go along if you want to share something. Thank you, Crispin.
Thank you so much, Diana, and thank you, Judith, for giving me for paving the way, actually, because I'm going to deal with more of what you were talking about. And yes, data collection and reporting challenges and solutions is what I will be talking about today. And in any case, every process will have difficulties. And this is what we are going to demystify today, or rather find solutions to maneuver through these challenges. So next slide, Rita. In the chat box, please help me and just write more of the challenges that you are facing. A lot of people have been talking about the resources, the participation, and maybe let's just get more of that and see how far we have. What are the challenges that you are facing in your G4G country activities? I'll start with my country. Yes, in Zimbabwe, we are having connectivity issues. And from the group of people that we are having cohorts with we have about 2 cohorts that have finished their modules, but getting feedback can be a problem because we have connectivity issues, and also participation, as people have been saying, is a bit of a problem. Commitment, I see patients have said, commitment is such a big problem, but yes, we're here to get these things straightened so that each and every one of us has an efficient way of actually implementing this M&E plan. Next slide. I will talk about some typical challenges that are being faced. I've researched and realized there are about 4 typical challenges that you can face. And from these, there's lack of resources. I will expand on it. Inaccurate data, ineffective strategies, and using modeled frameworks. These are the typical challenges that we can face during the cycle. But it doesn't have to, like Diana always says, it's not a boring process. And this does not have to demotivate you from actually carrying out the M&E process. Next slide. So let me bring you some solutions to this. Lack of resources. There are 3 aspects that I will deal with. These are technical resources, human resources, and financial resources. So solutions to the technical resources that we may be facing, the M&E team that I'm proud to be part of has designed the tools ready for use. And I'm sure everyone who has used them so far from the homework that we have, from the homework feedback that we got, everyone is comfortable with the technical part of the M&E process. And the human resources, here we are getting trained by these amazing ladies so that we can be able to implement these this M&E plan, this M&E process, and get every country on board with the actual goals that we want to get. And then financial resources. This I'll take it in the evaluations that we're going to learn in the next, to be trained in the next session. And this is a labor-intensive, work-intensive section of monitoring and evaluations. And this will need, sometimes we'll need more expertise on it. And however, the current G4G M&E team is still working on finding the actual plan that we can use, or a strategy that we can use to tackle this problem. Next slide. Inaccurate data. This mostly happens where data is not collected directly from the individual. And here comes the M&E tools where the mentee is just supposed to log on. Thanks to technology, that the mentor, the mentee is just supposed to go online, enter their data, and the validation process is simple. Getting back to the national M&E group that will then do the monitoring and evaluation, it makes things easier, a lot more easier. Next slide. Ineffective strategies. This M&E team has sat down over time. They have proved their tools with their various skills and expertise, and they have come up with the M&E framework that put down all the indicators needed. And then they decided that, you know what, it's easier if we divide this this work into different people, different groups of people, and taking from what the Girls for Girls 2.0 has been implementing, the subcommittees, we grabbed that, and then we came up with different tools for different activities, from fundraising to training to mentor-mentee data. And I'm sure you will have to understand, you will have to say it with me, that this is very effective for the M&E, for the monitoring and evaluation of our goals, for us to reach the goals that we have, 1 million mentees by 2025. Standardized tools, as we have seen, all the tools have been given to us. We don't have to struggle and go online and search for what to use. We have been provided with everything. Yes, next slide. Using modeled frameworks. Instead of going online, getting a framework that you can use and then not get the results that you want, the M&E team has sat down to create a framework that is solely focused on the Girls for Girls goals, focused on monitoring Girls for Girls activities. And they have put out, made it simple, and putting out the logical indicators, all aligned to help us reach 1 million mentees by 2025. I'll say this is the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat box, and I'll have my other colleagues help me to tackle those questions. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you, Diana.
Flowers, guys, let's unmute and give Crispin some flowers. Thank you, Crispin. And I just want to use her example. You know, when she talks about challenges with network, challenges with connectivity, Crispin has, you know, purposed to be part of this group. And even when she has no power, even when she has the internet connection is so bad, she will post in the chat and say, can you give me the highlights, you know? Can you just recap for me? And we're so grateful that you're able to stay on today and make this presentation. So ladies, please ask your questions. Yes, we realize that there are many challenges, there are many mountains to climb, but the most important thing that Judith has really echoed this today, take that small step. Take that small step. I want to, sharing Uganda's example. We don't have a very strong technical space of human resource capacity in analysis and in M&E, but we have learned from others. I want to say we have copied, and now we are trying to improve and make it localized. So we can all get where we're going if we start with the small steps. So anyone who wants to share any comments, any feedback? Rita, I see you posted something in the chat bar. You can just highlight on something.
Yes. So Wangechi raises something that tends to scare people, or rather frustrate people. She says, where is it? The absence of the bigger picture. It's not clear to those giving the data what the big results are. And it's true. If people don't understand why you're asking me to provide feedback and I can't see the results of the feedback, why should I? If you're asking me to submit a report by a certain time and I don't understand against what benchmark, or I don't see any feedback coming back to me or use being made of that report, then we have a problem. So that's why if you look at the M&E cycle, it always ends up at feedback, so that the process becomes stronger, And that's why we're talking about having teams, national teams within the countries, so that when people submit the reports, context is given to those reports. So you're able to say, University of Nairobi, well done. You have graduated 98% of the girls that started with your cohort. This is in comparison to, for instance, the girls from Makerere University and vis-a-vis University of Johannesburg, or even within your country. So it's very important. It's a message for the leaders of M&E within the country, that you make sure that people understand what the bigger picture is, and that as people report these small bits and pieces, people can see how they fit in and how they are contributing to the process. Today, we are going to be talking about how that data comes together and helps the country. And then Lillian has said they're just starting out. Look, total respect for Botswana. The amount of the resources, the mentors that have been mobilized, the fact that you've already held 2 cohorts, you just started this year, you're an ace game. But yes, do it step by step. If you're to ask me what data component would I first refine, the most important data that we need is mentee data and mentor data. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, it's okay. You can say, at least for the next 3 months, let's focus on good data collection and reporting on mentees and mentors. Then later on in the course of the year, you can start saying, okay, let's refine collecting data around fundraising. Let's refine collecting data around outreaches. So do it step by step. Don't overwhelm yourself. And the other strategy we are saying, if you look in the M&E plan, is set up a team. It doesn't have to be one person that's doing it. So in South Africa, for example, we're going to have a committee so that we can spread the work. There are people who are focused on evaluation, some do monitoring. Even within monitoring, it's different cohorts. It is a lot of work if you try and do it all together. But if we spread the work, cutting up of the pie, then it definitely becomes manageable. Thank you. I think those are the key questions that I had in here.
Thank you very much, Rita. Again, thank you very much, Crispin. We have someone who's just joined us, Lusekelo. Yes, we're going to provide the recording. And just to bring everybody to speed where we are at, today, we are going to answer the question, what happens? I have these tools. I have collected some data. What next? And we started first with a reflection on whether or not you're using some of the tools. And we got lots of you saying, yes, I'm using this tool, I'm using that tool. And then we went into the space where we said, from last week's meeting, have any of your countries' teams been able to meet, been able to discuss something? And we got feedback on that. And now we've just covered the challenges and how we can overcome some of the challenges when it comes to collecting data, analyzing data, and actually using the information we collect. So now we're still going to go into the tools, but the tool that I'm going to share with you is a tool that we innovated. And this is the beauty for me. The beauty is of M&A that I learned is really, what do I want to capture? What do I want to track? And how can I make sure that I'm actually covering it? I'm going to put on my earphones because I have banging in the background. But in case I will put them on if it gets very bad. So the tool that I'm going to share, as I said, it came from a space where Team Uganda, we had so many cohorts that were going on, but we had a very poor system of reporting on what was happening in those cohorts. So I'm one of the leaders for Team Uganda. I sat down and said, how can I find out the information from the cohorts and what is exactly happening in the cohorts? Remember, the mentoring is happening in circles. So we created a tool which said, okay, in the circles, mentors can give feedback. Now, as we engaged with this team, as we engaged with the global strategy, this tool became a specific tool to ease collection of data and analysis of data for small cohorts. And what do I mean by a small cohort? In Uganda, and it depends on your country, we have cohorts which are more than 10 ladies. And when we have a cohort which is more than 10, then they must use the standard reporting that we've gone through. But if we have a cohort that is 10 ladies or less, so I have 3 nieces. We have one lady who got together her 3 nieces, and together they are running a cohort. I think this banging is becoming a lot, so let me put on my AirPods just a minute. Bear with me. Can you hear me, Rita?
Yes, I can, clearly. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So in terms of, so I was giving you the example of a lady who has brought together 3 of her nieces, and they gather together on Sunday and they share the data, and she's taking them through the program, the 6 sessions. Now, for such a person, if I'm to tell her to now you feed the data in like this, then you analyze like this, she may be overwhelmed. So what she does is simply fill out this tool. Another space we have is a lady who brought together 10 of her friends. They created 2 small groups where they had five ladies in each group. And again, the reporting for that small group became this tool. So of course, with your country team, you're going to analyze and assess what sort of small, how do you want to define a small group? Where do you want to ease, the complexities of reporting? The most important thing is you want data from every group that meets together under the mentoring platform for G4G. So what does it have? First of all, it's used by the mentor in that small group, in that small circle. And the purpose is to ease the process of reporting for people who are running small groups. For somebody who's running a group of 20 plus, we believe she has a coordination team, and they're able to come together. As Rita was saying, they're able to share the burden. Someone will write the report. Someone will make sure the mentors and mentees have given data. It's not all on one head. So when is this data collected? Immediately after the session. And what happens is, as she says bye to everybody, if it's a physical meeting or a virtual meeting, the mentor in that circle will fill out the form. And why, and what does it, where does it go after? The way these forms are created, in Uganda, they're created by the country team, the national admin. And so she has access to this report. So all this leader has to do is fill out the information, and it will automatically be received by the national team. And why? Why is really to ease report writing, to ease collection of data, and to make sure that as this leader is mentoring in this space, that she's able to give real-time feedback to the country team and get real-time support, real-time help, and make sure that she's being supported. What do we capture? We're going to go into the tool itself, but we look at the key challenges faced in running the group. That is something that's very critical, because we believe One thing that we've seen in Uganda, many people start with a small circle, but once her challenges are addressed, they are able to rise and take on a bigger challenge of a bigger group. And really that is where we've seen our success, that people start doing a small circles, and then they grow into the larger circles. So for anyone who's starting for France, you know, the power in someone being comfortable in managing a small team gives them the courage to face up and lead a bigger team. And then we also want to capture the transformation stories. And once we capture these stories, we will then be able to make an assessment, include them in the report, and actually see whether there's, I won't use the word impact Twitter, but actually be able to track what is the immediate outcome, what are the results of the mentoring. So we are going to share the tool now. Rita, I'm going to stop sharing.
Sorry, Diana, I think the last bit is that, so we're planning, remember we're also piloting this in South Africa. We have just started using this for the first time because we have that special circle of 8 girls. We're collecting the data per session. At the end of the 6th session, we're going to analyze all the information and turn it into one overarching report. So that's what we're going to, we will have a report. It's just, and we, the national team, will help her. So a report will be generated, but only at the end, unlike the cohorts, which produce every period. So I don't know how you're doing it in Uganda. Let me get your slide up.
Okay, thank you. So in Uganda, what we have been doing, I will confess to all of you, we've not been providing reports immediately after the session. So for us, it's all been that report at the end. But now we came to learn, and we're going to take away how we can capture a report after each session. So this is the independent, and why do we call it independent circle? Because it's not part of a smaller, it's not part of a circle in a bigger cohort. So you will find that this is a group where one leader is leading 10 or less women. As we said, this tool can be modified depending on your needs, depending on your country needs. So this first information is not really relevant. And the most important thing is, after we talk about here, we capture the number of mentees that are part of the circle. Now, this is filled out every time because it just helps with measuring, say, okay, we began with maybe 10. How many are in session 1? How many dropped off? How many were in? And at the end, how many graduated? But this is a comprehensive tool that allows a person to track that. So how many mentees actually attended this session? So you check the rate of attendance. How many mentors in the circle? So of course, depending on how many people you're working with in that small group, who is the guest speaker? Because this data is then used in that final report that Rita is talking about. Session 1, we had this person. Session 2, we had this person. Then 3 challenges and or fears that the mentees are experiencing in relation to this module. And then you highlight this. And then list skills, knowledge, information that the mentees cited as having been helpful to address the identified fears and challenges. So here you will find that if they've done art of communication, many of them will say, I put up my hand to pray in the meeting, or this is what I'm going to do, this is the action I'm going to take. And then you record that. And then share at least 3 lessons or take away from the session. It's just real time, capture that information real time when you're still, the high is still very high. And then share at least 3 impact stories, testimonies of change, transformation from the mentees and mentors. Now here, we specifically want them to, when someone comes back and says, oh, do you know what, after the Art of Communication session, I volunteered to present at the company's annual meeting. I volunteered to speak at our school assembly. You want to capture that real time because it will enable you to write a report and detail the progress of the mentees rather than having to remember everything in the 6th session. Then any recommendations or insights you want to share with other circles or cohorts, and then only to be answered in session 6, how many mentees graduated? Okay, so this is a tool that we created to meet and solve a problem. So I just want to encourage all of you, if you have a concern, maybe a gap, and we've not created a tool, we've not developed a tool for it, develop the tool and share it with us, and we will all learn from each other. Rita, I'm going to pause, ask if you have any questions, and then
Diana, let me just add to that. So we've put a twist on it in South Africa. So the question about like the skills that the mentees have cited, we still use the feedback form with the mentees. So at the end of the session, we send out the feedback form to the mentees, and even the other mentor has to fill a feedback form, so that when the circle leader is preparing this report, she's actually looking at the feedback that has come from the girls. So the culture of feedback is still there, and it means that you still need to document the feedback using the feedback form that Kinney shared with us last week. That information put together with this report, when we are preparing that overarching report at the end of the cohort, is what makes a very powerful report, because you can then go back and say, what was the feedback in session 1? What was the feedback in session 3, etc. It correlates here, but you're then able to even augment with more explanations when you're putting together the big report. So just something extra. In other words, you can still continue to use feedback forms, and I think it's a very good approach to use. But if you're dealing with a very, very basic group, and you feel that it would be too much for them for the mentees to provide feedback before you provide this report, that's your choice. Here we are trying it differently. We are still asking the mentees to provide feedback so that it feeds into this report and makes work easier by the time we are writing the overarching report in session 6. So I think the point is there are differences in terms of how you can use the report. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. And I've just echoed that, yes, the mentees continue to fill the feedback form, because the mentees are using a different lens. Always remember that, and you want to capture the view from their side. All right. So I don't see any comments or questions. So I will hand over to you, Rita, for the next tool.
Okay, so, okay. I just wanted to make sure that you could hear me. So we need to make sure we are clear on where we are. Which is the, and please interact with me on the chat box. Which is the starting point? Which is the first tool? There are actually 2 tools. Which are the first tools we use when mentors and mentees are entering the G4G environment? In the chat box. Oh yeah, you can speak if you want to. Which is the first tool we use? And the trick is in the presentations last week. I need to get you guys with me, and I need to get the energies up. Registrations, yes, which registrations? There are 2 types of registrations. Steffi has said baselines, right? But we have a mentor registration tool, right? And then we have a mentee baseline and registration tool. So the baseline survey is inbuilt into the mentee one. Okay, good. Then you start running the circles, right? Isn't it? You've now got your mentors, you have your mentees. Let's imagine we went through the training. Now the cohort has been established. What are the next set of tools that you use? Well, once they start running. We also covered them last week. The tip is that Kinelwe covered those ones. What tools do we use? When you're running a session, what tools do you use? Come on, you can speak. I see Steffi is actually thinking about it. Steffi, you know it. Feedback forms, there we go. How many types of feedback forms? Mentor feedback form, mentee feedback form, right? Okay, and what do we use those feedback forms for? Where do they go? So you complete a feedback form. What do you use those feedback forms for? For session reports, yes. So Steffi, of course, who is going to be presenting on that, talks about that, yeah. So that's the build up, yeah? That the first tools we use are the registration tools, yeah? For mentors and for mentees. Now we bring people on board. Then we start holding cohorts. Every cohort, there's a report that is generated if you're from the big cohorts. But if you're a small independent circle, like Diana has just shared with us, you use the tool that she has shared. But like I think Wangechi asked, then what? You collect the data. Up until that point, really what you're doing is you're collecting data. Then you generate that session report. So now you've started the reporting process. But then what? Yeah. So we're now walking up the M&E chain. So let's imagine we're in Kenya and there are 3 cohorts that are operational. We have MTN, we have the Nairobi High School, cohort, and we have girls rule. I hear that word. I don't know I don't know whether it's a Ugandan cohort or circle or a Kenyan one. Now, what we are now saying is that every quarter, each cohort has to prepare a report, which is really about data. And we need this because at a global level, Morgan, who sits in Washington, collects all cohort information per country, and then she consolidates it. Just yesterday, Diana, just read the results out for us. I think she has given us down to the last number, 2,413 or something like that. That is why we're reporting. So we realize that when we are trying to assemble the data, we needed a simpler, faster way. So every cohort, every circle will be required, and I'm just going to share that tool with you. It's about numbers. This one is really about numbers. It's a little bit different than the session report that Steffi talks about, because the session report is not only about the numbers and tracking performance, it's also about understanding why are we doing well, why are we doing not so well, and what are the lessons in there. And the session after this, we're going to be showing you how to do that report. That report's intention is different. Morgan's intention, who is sitting in Washington consolidating data for G4G Global, she just wants the numbers. So that's why there's this report. So every cohort, Girls Rule, MTN Quarter, Nairobi High School, will prepare a summary quarterly report. They will send it to national level. So for instance, in South Africa, Kini is likely to be the person pulling it together. I think in Uganda, it's Patricia. In Kenya, it's Laura. I'm now beginning to get used to the people in the region. So who is that person who is pulling the data together for the country? And then, sorry, it then goes into the overarching country report, which we are also going to talk about later. For now, I'm going to talk about the cohort quarterly report. So every cohort, think of the cohort you're in right now. For instance, I'm in Athlone Girls. We're going to have to report. Who are we reporting to? Sorry. Yeah, who are the people who have roles and responsibilities in relation to it? The cohort coordinator is responsible. It makes sense that the cohort coordinator is accountable and says, I have 34 girls in my cohort, and this is how many have been active. So the results from the different cohorts are then collected and collated, like I said, by the M&E person within the country. So for us, it's Kinelwe, Patricia in Uganda, Laura in Kenya. When they are collected, the country team leader will also look at them, because sometimes you'll say, oh, you forgot Mamelodi Girls, you forgot to include this particular cohort. So there's a kind of a quality assurance we've built into there. Remember what Nyasha said about accuracy. Data inaccuracy is not only about miscalculating. Data inaccuracy sometimes comes about because of incomplete data. So you, for instance, have 6 cohorts that are running in your country, but you're only reporting from 4. That is inaccurate reporting. You want everything to come together. So having a different person look at the report once it has been prepared is a very good practice. Even us internally within a cohort, when we prepare session reports, Steffi will prepare and say, Rita, take a look at it. Or I will prepare and I'll say, oh, Sheila, take a look at it. That's what we do to quality assure it. When will this report be prepared? It will be every quarter, because G4G Global, and I think all of us want to know on a quarterly basis, where are we, finger on the pulse, where are we? Are we slow? Are we far? Are we ahead? Where are we? And which means what more needs to be done? Why are we requesting for this cohort quarterly report? It's to summarize the data, and it eases the burden for the country M&E person. So you imagine Laura in Kenya, if she's responsible for 10 different cohorts, if the data is not flowing up to her, if Laura has to go to cohort 1, cohort 2, circle 3, circle this one, it is too much. And then that's when we have people burning out and exiting G4G and saying, me, I don't want to support the M&E function. So what we're doing is we're saying, if every cohort leader can prepare that report, then it makes life easier for us. And then, like we said, it's used for routine monitoring, and it also allows for an intervention where required. For instance, we had a cohort that kicked off in South Africa last week. Only 4 girls pitched up for that. It was a calamity of so many things that happened. We had to then take a step back and say, okay, do we repeat session 1? or do we actually, keep going? But in other words, that information is what allows you to quickly step in. And like I said, it's about global accountability to Morgan, who collects on behalf of G4G Global. Okay, so what comes in this report? And I'm just about to show you the report. And it's going to look like it's busy, but it looks like it's busy because it collects disaggregated data. But these are the indicators it comes from. And these indicators are the ones that are in the results framework, which will also be in your M&E plan. So in this report that will be completed every quarter, we're looking at number of mentees that have signed on to the G4G program. We're also looking at mentees that have participated in at least one program. Then we look at those who are graduated. I don't know whether you see the cascade, because we want to know, why do 100 girls sign up? They register in that baseline form and registration form that Mary talked about last week. 100 people sign up. But then when it comes to now actually joining a cohort, maybe only 75 sign up, okay? Why? What has happened? Why have we gone from 100 people saying, I want to join G4G, and then suddenly we are at 75? And of the 75 that start, maybe only 60 graduate. We still want to know, why are we going from 75 girls that put their foot, they come for at least one session, but maybe they don't return or they don't come consistently. And therefore, at the end of the day, only 60 are the ones who have attended all 4 reports. So there's a logic to these indicators. There's a reason to these indicators. And that quarterly report is helping you collect that information. We're not going to wait until 7 months later, then you're saying, woo, where's the data? Where do we get it from? We are collecting it. Here, I'm also trying to show you which tools feed into this, your ability to report on this quarterly report. You need your registration data, isn't it? To know who signed up. You need your session reports. This is why the report Steffi is going to show us how to compile. It's so useful. For me, when Morgan asks, please prepare the reports, Kini and I, what we do is we go back and we look, because we always share these reports on WhatsApp, and we're able to, without having to go back and say, oh, Sheila, who heads Athlon Girls? How many? We can even count a check vis-a-vis, the session reports that have been prepared. Alternatively, you can keep a cohort database. So for instance, at Athlon Girls, every session, we keep count who came. By name, we know who came. Session 1, session 2, session 3. By the end of session 4, we know who graduates or not, and which answers the last question, yeah? So the session reports and the cohort database. We disaggregate the data. And let me talk a little bit about the importance of disaggregating, because when we are analyzing in future, and for whatever reasons, when we are planning maybe for the next period, we want to know which age groups are the mentees coming from. And we also are capturing data on disability. For those of you who work a lot in development, you know that there's a particular keen interest in, what else holds a girl back. So here's an opportunity for G4G, but what else might impair her or impede her from coming and being part of G4G? So we are trying to also capture, are we catering for people who need an extra leg up to be able to join us? So the disaggregation by disability was proposed by one of the founders, so it was included. So we report on mentee data within this quarterly report form. We also report on mentor data, because remember, we also need to know what is happening on that front. So we look at the number of mentors that have signed up to the G4G program. Again, think about it. It's the registration tool that Mary took us through. Then we look at the ones who they get trained and then they are actively participating in a cohort. Last year, I know we trained, more people got, more mentors signed on, people got trained, but we still had some mentors in 2020 in South Africa that never actively participated in a cohort. And it made us ask why. So that's why, again, that cascade becomes important. How many mentors sign up? How many actively participate? And then how many, we actually track how many actually participate, like the girls, in at least 4 sessions, because those are committed mentors. We also want to see that data. So all of us at a minimum are being asked to report on this information, okay? Okay, we don't have time for the activities, so I'm just going to show you what the tool itself actually, what it actually looks like. Just give me a second. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat box and then we shall attend to them. Okay, so this is what it is. imagine you're a leader of a cohort or a circle. Every quarter, by the 5th day after the quarter ends. So for instance, by the 5th of April, a report should have been prepared. Very simple. What is the circle name? Which year you're reporting in? Which period? Which quarter are we looking at? And all of this helps us because the data just goes and fits into the right categories when we are pulling it together. Like I said, we capture 2 types of data. We capture mentee data and we capture mentor data. That's it. So no panic. And please don't be saying that this is looking like a lot of work. You actually have this information, and I want to give you comfort that you do. If you look at what it's collecting, number of mentees that have participated in your circle, you will have that. If you think about Diana's tool, the one that she just talked about, it pretty much is collecting the same information. And then, yeah, so indicate the number of mentees by cohort. And then we disaggregate. Remember, I talked about the fact that we want to break down the data. So here, because Google is not that smart, I wish we could indicate the category and you'd only populate the number and say, for instance, in the age band 15 to 19, there are 12 girls in this range. We're unable to do it. So you'll have to write 15 to 19 and then say 12 girls. We're trying to figure out how to do it better. But it's a very simple tool to use. It's very instinctive. This information that's being requested in here is information that theoretically you should be collecting. And then yes, upon graduation, how many graduated? And of those that graduated, how many sessions did they attend? 4, 5, were there 6 out of 6s and things like that? And then under the mentor data, we want to know how many participated in the circles and how many, you know, have led at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sessions. So this, it's a quick tool. If you think about it, it's a quick tool to complete as long as you're collecting your data. You have your registration forms, and every session you're consolidating your information. It won't be difficult to complete. But this is important because it then flows to the person in your country who is responsible for M&E. For us, for instance, as South Africa, Uganda, Botswana, to be able to say, yes, we are actually on track. Or maybe no, oh my goodness, you know, it's Q1 has ended and we only have 12 active girls. Meanwhile, we have said our target is 300. Ooh, we need to put in more energy and effort. So that's why this tool is important. I'll take a stop and see if there are any questions or clarifications. Please ask. There's no silly question in this room. Are we together?
Thank you, Rita. Yes, there are some questions.
Okay.
And I will start with Namuchana's. And she says, Rita, how do you ensure that there are no duplication of reporting by the cohorts or countries, considering that for mentor training, sometimes you have the same mentors attending a variety of training sessions?
Very, very good question. Now, that question is going to be answered in the training tool, which we're going to be doing in a short while. We are differentiating between, when you say people trained, we will be reporting by new mentors trained and old mentors trained. If you just say anyone who came and participated in the training, what you're reporting is attendance. But if you want the number of mentors that are trained, what you want is to every month, every quarter, you start off with, for example, who was trained in 2020? For argument's sake, in South Africa, we had 100 people that were trained between 2019 and 2020. Then to get to top up the number of mentors that have been trained, we will only add to that number the number of new mentors. Yeah, that is how we then know we are counting mentors trained, not just activity of trainees. Very good question, Namuchana. And it's something that who is presenting on it? I think it's Mary that's presenting on that tool. You will see the difference in terms of how we collect information. New mentees trained, new mentors trained, and old mentors trained. Did that answer the question? I think it did.
Okay, the next one is Wangechi, and she's so full of bright ideas. She's saying, are we capturing speaker data? We have such powerful stories that are shared by our guests. How are we capturing this?
I'm going to keep quiet because Steffi is going to show you that we actually, within our reporting template, we've got a space for the speaker data. We call it the inspirational segment. So it's captured, yeah. And in Diana, in your tool as well, it's there. I think you mentioned who is it that spoke, so that at the end, when we're preparing that overarching report, we can go back and say, who was the speaker in session 1, session 2, session 3. So we are collecting it, yeah.
Yes, maybe just to clarify, it's not in the quarterly report, but as you'll see in the report that's going to be shared, it should be captured. And in the Independent Circle report, it's captured. One thing I've seen in our country is that there are some speakers who have very high, when they attend, they have 5.5, people are, the feedback from mentees is 5.55. So we've actually begun identifying those speakers to speak in some sessions and recommend them as guest speakers, because we believe that they really can bring out the G4G philosophy and ideas, but also their stories are very powerful. So maybe that's just something we can take away from that.
Someone has asked me to show the activity page for a moment. I don't know what the activity page is. Marion? Kainama?
The one that you skipped, you said there's no time for this, and then you skipped something as you're presenting. Just
you
now.
wanted to do some activities.
The very last page, Rita.
Oh, it was an activity.
It was an activity, yes. I was going to make you guys report, and we're going to watch the data coming in, but we don't have time for that. Sorry about that right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. There's one more question. Someone asked about a program. And when Gechi responded, but Miriam, do you feel comfortable? You want to unmute and ask? Miriam? Okay. I will assume she's well, she's okay. Yes, an idea, we should have a book, a project where we collect G4G stories of change. I'm sure that's definitely in the work somewhere. Okay, so I don't see any more questions.
Yeah, Aka is asking, Aka, what is it you want? You said you want the mentor indicator slide again, or you want the mentor section in the tool? Aka, you're probably on mute. Huh? She sent me a message on the side, and I'm trying to figure out what.
Please show the slide.
The slide. Okay.
Yes, please.
This one?
Thank you.
Is this the one?
Yes, thank you.
What are you doing? Are you taking a picture or what? I thought you had a question around it. Don't worry.
Went so fast.
Pardon?
It went so fast.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Then we are done. I don't see any other questions. Diana, over to you then.
Thank you, ladies. I know that you have taken in very much information. If you see, I went and got myself a cup of hot water with some tea. I hope you're comfortable. We're going to take a health break after the next session. But for me, the next session is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. We're going to be talking about the reports after the session. How do we do it? How can we make it easy for everyone to do it? For Zambia, how do we tell those stories immediately after the session is done and make sure that we're getting the rest of the team energized, enthused, and as Judith, implored you, please tell those stories, collect that information. So this for me is what I've been looking forward to. And Steffi, who is in Johannesburg, is going to take us through it. And Steffi, I know you speak French. So there's Miriam, who, in case you want to emphasize something, please feel free to use all manner of, both languages and get us through. So thank you, Steffi.
So I'm doing a little bit just before Steffi comes. We're doing a combined presentation.
Okay.
Okay. So this session is probably, when I was encouraging people to come, and even for me as I was getting prepared and psyched for today, this is the session, because I think it's in the M&E chain. It's very easy to discipline yourselves and to collect data. You can collect. To transform that data from those feedback forms into a report is the challenge. So this is the session, and we are hoping to share as many of the tips with you. But before Steffi starts that process, I'm taking you back to session 1. Remember the different types of analysis we can do. There's quantitative, there's qualitative, and then there's what we call extras. So the quantitative are the numbers. The numbers are what are convincing. They're what make the case for you. And if you think about art of communication, these are the what, yeah? These are the fact-based And this talks to certain people. For me, I'll not lie to you. If I'm reading a report, the first thing I want to know is how many girls actually provided their feedback vis-a-vis. That makes a convincing case. And then, yeah, I want to see the performance. I always say, we want to see a performance. 5s and 4s is what we aspire to. So the numbers are always important. And when you're reporting, remember it's numbers, it can be plain numbers and it can be percentages. So for example, 31 girls attended the session. Or you can say 31 girls out of 35 girls attended the session, and you calculate the percentage. So one of the things one needs to get comfortable with is when do you use straight out numbers and when do you use percentages? But percentages typically trump plain numbers because percentages provide context. When you say 31 out of 34, very convincing. But if I just said 31, Diana might have said, but our cohorts in Uganda attended by 75 people. So that's about a 50% response. So it's good to be clear about it. Then there's the qualitative analysis, which is the meat, the why behind the what. It provides insights to the respondents' experiences. So for instance, when they all rate you 5, we had a session at Athlon Girls last Saturday. Steffi was the facilitator. They loved it. It was great to see a big rating of 5s, but we also wanted to know why, what is it that was behind it? So they loved that they gave speeches. They loved that they had a chance to, write their poems. It was really about them. And we got that feedback, yeah? The qualitative analysis also allows for context setting. So remember that example I talked about earlier on, the cascade of indicators. 100 mentees signed up, but only 75% actually started, being part of a G4G cohort or a circle. Why? We, for instance, discovered in South Africa that for us, equipment is definitely a challenge. The girls want to join G4G, but now because we're predominantly online, a number of them can't join us because they don't have phones or they don't have data. Data we're able to address, phones we can't, but we're trying to figure out, what else would we do? So yeah, those questions that begin to arise, your qualitative analysis becomes very important. And then we have what we call the extras to make the report appealing. If you look at reports sometimes and it's all text and all numbers, and you're going to see examples that we do in South Africa. We try every trick in the book, and we love our marketing and our communications and social media people because they always give us ideas. But we like pictures. The pictures make it more believable. You can see the faces of the girls. When we say the girls were excited, for you to have the picture of the girl going like, it's great. It's evidence in itself. We also capture sometimes the words of the girls in the in the chat boxes or their emojis. I think young people tend to speak with a lot of figurines and emojis than we do. And then color. We adhere to the G4G branding and we use it to make things stand out. So that gives you an idea in terms of like where we are coming from and what. If any of you are writing a report, you need to ask yourself, do I have quantitative data? Do I have qualitative data? And what have I done to make it look nice? So here are types of reports. This one is an extract from the evaluation report we did for University of Johannesburg in 2019. Just look at this slide. You've got a visual, that pie chart that quickly shows you, and then you quickly want to know, what is it? What did you like the most about G4G? Mentorship and sharing stories. That's a testimony of the girls. But when you look at the text as well, you will see. We give you the performance. Like the aspects of the program that was most liked by the mentees was mentorship and sharing of stories. And we break it down. We show you even the flow of it and things like that. And if you were to read the full report, we will then show you some of the quotations. Okay, another form of reporting. Here are the quotations, yeah? So in this segment, it's about the girls. We asked them to think about the dreams and aspirations that they shared with us at the start of G4G and what new skills and lessons they learned to help them achieve these dreams of theirs. So we analyze it. Here is the numbers. Here is our other nice visual. But this time we have put in, a statement from the girls. For me, this was very powerful. These are her words. I learned about the true power of being courageous. What stood out for me was how each woman who spoke had to overcome their battles and achieved what they wanted to achieve. That is direct testimony from the girls. And You can imagine a person who is reading this report, whether you are a sponsor, we just wrote a big proposal to Google the other day, whether you are a country team leader, whether you're a mentor yourself, can you imagine your mentees being able to say this? It is so beautiful as opposed to just looking at the numbers. And then and Steffi will show you how we do this, we also tell stories. For instance, here is one of our inspirational speakers, former mentee of G4G, and even her, we pull out what were her words of advice. But not only are we saying what she said, someone asked, about the speakers, this is a segment that we do it in. But what we also did is we put in a snapshot of the chat box. Just look at all those hearts and emojis. These are the words of the girls, yeah? This, like, imagine taking a snapshot of what is happening right now, okay? And then, we also use a lot of color, like I said, pictures of the mentees, and here it is, okay? So this gives you a flavor of the types of reports that we prepare. Now, I'm handing it over to Steffi. Should I give you controls? Should I step out or should I continue?
Yes, if you could maybe just stop projecting, I'll do it on my side. It's easier. Yeah. Thank you, Rita.
So Steffi, while she's getting herself up, is going to show you how to get a session report prepared. Thank you. Steffi is one of, and actually, let me do this nicely. Steffi is one of the mentors when I was setting up G4G in South Africa. She's one of the people I consulted because she's old young. She's got a very mature way of thinking. Her age is young. So she's got a good connection to mentees. And when we started going into this cohort coordination role and setting up some of these more sophisticated structures, Steffi is one of the people who stepped up because she said, what can I do? And I remember one of the first times I asked someone else to write a report. It was Kinney, and then it was Steffi. And Steffi has nailed it. So we thought there couldn't be a better person to come and present on what it takes to generate a session report. Over to you, Steffi. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita, for the introduction. But I must say that my journey with learning how to write these reports has been very interesting. I love to say that I've had like a hate-love relationship with the session report, because at the beginning, it used to take me like a full day of sitting down and trying to remember what did we do, but obviously now that we went online and fortunately enough, we are doing Zoom sessions, then it becomes easier to go back in the recording, get the data. But also it was about me getting to a way to standardize and, put together a methodology to complete the report, which is what I'm hoping today I'll be able to show you guys. So what I've done is I've broken down the session report into 7 sections. And I personally feel that whenever I look at it as these 7 little sections, then it becomes easier and quicker to complete and to know for each section, where am I getting the data from, right? So I am going to show you all 7 sections, but obviously, again, we like to always mention what is the why behind the what, right? As part of what we learn in Art of Communication, but also really the importance of each section. So I'll go through that, and also hoping to make it easier for you guys by showing you for each section, where do you get the data? So first section, which is the overview section, right? This is usually just, we're setting the scene. We're mentioning what date did we have the session? Was it a face-to-face session versus a virtual session? How many mentees and mentors attended, right? And we get that information from the attendance register, right? So then I'll go into showing you a concrete example of that overview section. So what I've done is I've taken the report. Rita mentioned earlier, me and her are currently busy running a cohort called Athlon Girls High School. And this was the report for session 1 on building trust. So as you can see, the first paragraph, which is that overview, I've highlighted, for example, okay, we've said that it's session 1, we said the date the session took place. We've also mentioned how many mentees and mentors attended the session. But again, to go back to what Rita mentioned, it's about analyzing that information, because us saying that 33 mentees and 15 mentors attended is not enough. Was it a good number? Was it a bad number? So I've then went on and highlighted for you to see how we've analyzed that by saying that initially the interest was 58 mentees had shown interest into this particular cohort, but we only got 33 mentees to attend that session, which is 57%. So then you ask yourself, why, right? And this is where the qualitative analysis comes into play, and you then explain the why behind such a low percentage of 57, which in this case, like Rita mentioned earlier, in South Africa, we have been dealing with issues around the girls getting access to the right equipment, right? We've solved the data issue, but some of them don't have access to a phone, a tablet, or a computer, making it difficult for them to attend. So this is what would normally go into that overview section. And again, information around the number of mentees, mentor, you can get it from the registration form. Then we go into the second section of the report, which is the introduction. Really, this is where you set up what the objective of that particular session is, and you introduce the key concept. And really what I usually do when I'm writing that section is I always have my mentor guide next to me, because if you recall on the page of that particular session, there's always that top paragraph that reminds us what is the particular purpose of that session, right? So again, let me show you. This is the extract from, again, the same report, which was session 1 for Athlon cohort, where we had the introduction. Here you'll see that, again, at the top I've highlighted in green, introduce G4G to the mentees. That's objective. That is one of the objectives of session 1 on building trust. Then we went, if you look a little bit in this paragraph, there was, again, we are introducing G4G, but also us as mentors are introducing ourselves to the girls in order to create, that relationship, that bond, that starting to build that element of trust. And here, Rita, who wrote this particular report, went ahead and mentioned what were some of the different professions in the room. Again, this is information that we get from the mentors registration form. The mentors usually mention what the area of expertise they have, but also, during the actual session, as they were introducing themselves, they did mention what their jobs are. Here, I did find it interesting that Rita mentioned the countries where the mentors were coming from, but there was a reason why she did it, because Athlon is a very particular school in South Africa where we do have a lot of girls coming from various countries around the continent. So it was also, as part of us building the relationship with these young girls, the fact that, the mentors come from a diverse group, the diversity of the mentors, mirrors what these young girls, where these young girls are also about. And final point that I wanted just to bring your attention around the example, where she also went ahead and mentioned the icebreaker that we did. But again, what was the impact of us doing that icebreaker? We were speaking about Sheila, who was the facilitator for session 1, did the icebreaker on self-routine cares. And so that's the analysis part. So the green part is just mentioning what happened in the session, but what did it do, that had the mentees and mentor open up and share what it is that helped them stay calm and feeling good about themselves. And we believe that it helped set the tone for the building trust session. So I'm hoping you're starting to see how we mention, the facts, the data, but the analysis component starts to come in. Then we go into section 3 of the report, which is the inspirational segment, right? Obviously, one of the 3 G4G pillar is inspiration and learning through sharing our stories. So it's definitely one of the core main pillar of G4G, and we do capture that element into our session report. Obviously, we get some session we do invite guest speakers, so we would usually share the bio of the guest speaker, so that can help you, write down that section around why was that particular guest speaker relevant for that session. And obviously the beauty of now running these sessions over Zoom, we have the recording. If you forget, you can always go back and take out some of the element that the guest speaker has mentioned. And I think earlier someone wrote it in the chat, do we keep the data around guest speakers? We in South Africa do it through the session report. So this is again, still the same report on session 1, building trust. And for that particular session, we didn't have a guest speaker per se, but that segment was done by Rita. As she's the head of G4G South Africa, she was able to obviously introduce what G4G's what the G4G program is about, the G4G methodology. But as we went into the inspirational segment, Rita then went a step forward, where she also shared part of her personal story, like she did just as she was introducing me. She mentioned so in this particular session, Rita shared how she started G4G in South Africa, that she had to tap into her village. Again, this is us bringing, this is the part where you make the links between what the guest speaker element and how the guest speaker is referencing some of G4G key concept for that particular session. So you can see she's mentioning about her village. And I think you can, I don't know if it's clear enough, but do you see the quotations in pink? So we like to use these quotation, taking exactly some of the words that the guest speaker has mentioned, but also some of the reaction from the girls, whether it's in the chat or whether it's when they are giving an opportunity to do the Q&A with the guest speaker. So this is how we would usually structure the inspirational segment. Then we go into section 4 of the report. This is where, and you'll see that from the chronology of how we write the report mirrors how we run the session, right? There's usually the introduction, the inspirational segment with the guest speaker, and then we go into the circles. This is where we send people in the breakout rooms for them to further unpack the key concept of that particular session, right? This is where they hold discussion, they do exercises within the smaller circle, just to make sure that the mentees understand what those key concepts are. So we usually, even in the report, make sure we report on that particular section. And where do I get the data to write that particular paragraph around the circle? It's usually from the feedback that if you remember, after the smaller circles, they come back into the plenary, and there's usually one representative per circle that comes and shares some of the key learnings from their particular circle. So we use those feedback that we get in the plenary to then draft that section. Again, as you can see, I've extracted that particular paragraph, just reporting back on what happened in the circles, the analysis here. Do you see where, again, I've highlighted in orange, where, for example, here the bonding was cemented by each group, defining their circle norm and selecting circle names, etc. So showing really that what the objective of session 1 was about is being, met. And obviously reporting some of the key information from that session. If you recall session 1, that's usually where we ask each circle to come back with a name for their circle. So here that's mentioned in that particular section of the report. Then we go into the most important, at least I think for me, this is where the meat of the session report is. This is the section around the mentees and mentors feedback. So you remember the data So what is the data source for this particular section? This is where each mentee and mentor get given that Google form to complete after each section, rating the section 1 to 5, whether they believe the objectives have been met, etc. So what do we do with that data that we collect in those feedback form? We then put them together, analyze them into this particular paragraph or section of the session report, because really, again, we won't know whether we've met the objectives of the session, and it really allows us to assess the impact of G4G. So we are going to do an exercise later on, but I've extracted one section, not the mentor's feedback, but just to show you one how we analyze the mentee feedback. So for example, here in the mentee feedback section, we wrote we had a great response to the request for feedback with 31 out of the 33 mentees. So that's a 94% response rate, right? We in South Africa aim to have above 70% of our mentees and our mentors completing that feedback form at the end of the session. But let me rephrase. We aim for 100%, but anything above 70, 75% is deemed acceptable. Then you've gotten, tangible data that you can analyze. And so this is what we would then write, putting the percentage, because percentage puts things in perspective, instead of just saying 31 mentees responded to the feedback form. It's 31 out of 33, which is that 94%. So this is how I'm hoping you're starting to see how this puts context. And again, the qualitative element, because it's not just about numbers, but here demonstrating the success of the first session that aims to create safe space and a sense of trust. Again, trying to analyze by looking at some of the comments that the girls provide in the feedback. And I also want to show you how there's, again, the use of quotation, I'm struggling with my screen, how it's being shown. Yes. So when asked after, and also one thing that we usually do is we extract one of the questions that the girls get asked on the session report, and we pick some of the quotation that come out of their answers to that particular section. So as you can see here, one particular girl said at the bottom, I feel most empowered to speak my truth and what I believe in. This is because I learned in my circle that you should speak your truth and that it can help someone else or empower somebody else to be the best version of themselves. So definitely powerful quotations being used to illustrate how the objectives of that particular sessions have been met. Let me quickly go into the last two sections of the report. Section 6 is the lesson learned. So obviously all of us go through some challenges as we are coordinating and planning some of these cohorts, some of these sessions. So this is where you would mention some of the challenges that the coordination team has faced. So the data source is really the coordination team and their experience. Using again that example from Athlon, this is where we mentioned that equipment remains a challenge, but also we then start talking about how are we addressing some of these issues. So if you can see in the second paragraph here, to address the issue of imbalance across the circle. So this had happened because in session 1 in Athlon, because we had done the split between each circle prior to the session happening, but then on the day there's some girls that didn't attend, you would find that some circles found themselves with only one mentee and other circles with 6, 7 mentees. So there was a huge imbalance, but obviously here the coordination team is taking time to explain how they're going to address it. So to address the issue of imbalance across the circles, the mentee that were not able to attend session 1 shall be redistributed to the underrepresented circle starting, session 2. So again, showing what are we doing with the data, you know. Last section, it's the appreciation section. This is really the conclusion. This is where you provide information around some of the, you know, this section I think is used by definitely G4G Global, seeing you know, who's part of the coordination, who has contributed, but this is, you know, a good section for accountability to our donors as well. And the information for that section comes from the coordination team. Here in this particular session, as you can see, pictures, again, the use of pictures, we put pictures of the team that was coordinating that particular cohort, but also who are the mentors who contributed to the data, because again, as mentioned earlier, equipment and access to data is usually an issue in South Africa. We find that most of the time the contribution to the data comes from mentors, so this is where you would acknowledge them. So that's it. These are the 7 key sections of the session report. I know I'm running over time, so I just want to quickly, again, just summarize around why do we do this, you know. Part of that monitoring element is assessing the impact that these G4G interventions have, but also constantly trying to better ourselves, right? So if you see a comment coming back, in Athlon, we had girls complaining about not enough data, then we're doing something about it. It's good to do it after each session so that you don't only find out that the girls were complaining about the data in session 6 and you're already wrapping up, but also to provide accountability to G4G Global and our country teams and our sponsors and donors. And these sessions report obviously would help when it comes to fundraising. If we're going to one of these big telecom companies saying we need data, then we have tangible data to show them for that. So that's it for me. Apologies for going over time. I'm going to hand over back to Diana and Rita. I'm not sure if we'll have time to do the exercise, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Steffi. I was writing down so many things. And ladies, we want to hear from you. Your questions, your comments, does it seem impossible? Can I just see from checking the pulse in the chat function, put on a scale of 1 to 5, how possible do you think this is? Is it 5 being very complicated and 1 being, yeah, I can do it, easy? Scale of 1 to 5, we can do it. Good, good. I love this. Oh, Steffi. You know how you're a strong communicator. That's great. That's great. Okay, I can see representation from different countries. Thank you. That's great. Keep those ones coming in. I would love also to see somebody who says no, you know, maybe this one is, you know, for people who have it in them to be authors. And I love that. I love that we're getting 1s and 2s. Okay, exciting. So Steffi, there was many comments. I'll start with a question from Miriam, and if she wishes, she can unmute herself. Do you find that you can record a session on building trust? Did you not face issues, confidentiality? Sometimes I found that girls shared things that were private, but only if the session was not recorded. Or are you recording only the inspirational segment? Please, over to you.
Yes, in South Africa, we do record this the entire session, but not when we go into the breakout rooms. So when we go into the smaller circles, that information is not being recorded. But also it's important to mention that when we are publishing some videos on YouTube, generally only the inspirational segment is being stripped out of the full recording. So there's that confidentiality element in the sense that outside of the coordination team, no one gets to use that recording.
Thank you, Steffi.
Yeah.
All right. So Wangeshi is saying she would like to go back to her suggestion of having each mentor work with a cohort leader to write a report after a session. So I confirm that we have used this technique. I see Steffi nodding.
Yeah.
What we do when we set up a cohort, we have the cohort leader, but we have a team around her, and there is someone specifically responsible for the reports. So yes, depending on the mental strengths, but it's put out to them and they volunteer themselves. So I can confirm it's been used and it's working.
Diana, may I add something? So
yes.
what we do, and I think which has made the reporting burden a little bit more manageable, is that we rotate. So I wrote session 1, for example. Sheila, who is a cohort coordinator, wrote the one on courageous leadership. Steffi is doing art of communication. It reduces the burden. And then, yeah, I think it also allows you to then take a break and also to be, so for instance, you know, we critique each other's work, which also allows for the growing and that type of thing. So it's a good strategy to use.
Okay, thank you. Something I'll pick from you, Rita, is the sort of 4I principle, having someone prepare, having someone review.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so for the record, the report was shared and these particular slides will be shared with you. So just put a yes in the chat bar if this is something that you're definitely, how many of you are definitely going to incorporate report writing? If you're definitely like this is one of the things we are going to do in my country. Yes,
so
right.
What are the countries? I want to know what countries. I think I see France. I see Patience.
I see Uganda.
Niza Chipeta, is that Zambia or Zimbabwe? I see Botswana. Very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Maggie, I love that suggestion. Yes. Yes, we are definitely going to be taking them through M&E on our part.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, yes, Niza has responded, Zambia. All right, so we are going to take a health break. But as we go to take a health break, I am going to share something exciting. So I saw a lot of ones in the group. If you are one, meaning if you attended this first session and you're attending this session, I'm asking you kindly to download this app because we are going to be giving you certificates after this session. So download the app in your break and you can start registering. And after the session, someone from our team will confirm your attendance and then award you the certificate. If you're here for the first time, we will still recognize you. And we believe that when we hold the next session, you will be able to get your certificate. So thank you for joining. And there is still so much more coming. Please just get off your seat, get some water, get some coffee. And when you come back, I will teach you something I learned from the Nigerians. We don't yet have them on the group, but there is something I learned this week that I want to share with you. So come expectant. All right.
If I'm to do the music, will you drop your slide,
Yes.
Diana?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
As around the sun, the earth knows she's revolving, and the rosebuds know to bloom in early May. This is ain't no love's a cure. You can rest your mind assured that I'll be loving you always. As now can't reveal the mystery of tomorrow, but in passing we'll grow older every day. Just as honest born is new, you know what I say is true, that I'll be loving you always. Until the rainbow burns the stars out of the sky. Always. Until the ocean covers every mountain. It's gonna be always. Until the day that it stops, buds know the bloom in early May. Now I know deep in my mind that love and me are left behind, and I'll be loving you. Loving you until the rainbow burns the stars out of the sky. I'll be loving you until the ocean covers every mountain high. Loving you until the dawn is fire and sea. Loving you until the dream of life and life becomes a dream. Now ain't that loving you? Yeah. Now ain't that loving you? Yeah. I'll be loving you forever. I'll be loved, loved. Jesus, I'll be
Diana, guidance? Do I stop or keep going?
I'm smiling. It depends on the next song. We have 2 minutes. As long as you're not playing Papa Wemba. 6 minutes.
Hi, sisters. I'm here with you, Rita.
Hi, I saw you coming. Well done.
I'm here. Let me just go out in the sun. Hi. I'm very available. I've learned everything.
Facilitate our next session.
I'm telling you, how are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
Okay, let me say Kamoli. Bye.
Alright,
Joanne,
bye. We have 1 minute, ladies. 1 minute.
And try to see, falling behind what could be. Oh, bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love? I keep thinking of. Bring me higher love. Bring me higher love. Bring me higher Worlds are turning, and we're just hanging on, facing our fear and standing out there alone.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you.
And it's real to me. There must be.
Thank you, Rita. Yes, thank you so much. So ladies, I don't know if you can switch on your videos because I need you to give me what I'm giving you, some energy. But also I learned this yesterday. I'm doing a course with something based around Ubuntu, and it says we are one, I am because you are. And truly G4G, each of us individual countries is because all of you are. And so a Nigerian was asked to, engage us and bring us together. And he's from the Yoruba tribe. And he said that in the Yoruba tribe, when people are going to speak, when people are starting a conversation, they make a call and then the audience responds. And they do this 3 times, and then it's an invitation for the speaker to continue and engage. So we're going to do it 3 times. And I'm not perfect, my Yoruba is not perfect, but we start with, it's simply a call. And I say something like, hello, basically, hello. and you respond in a lower bass, hello. So deep, meaningful, you're inviting us again into your rooms, into your living room, into your kitchen, if you're cooking as you do this module. So I'm going to say it first. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. So second time. Hello.
Hello. I'm sure we have no men on the call, Diana.
Thank you. Another time. Hello. Thank you. So I loved it because it was just a different perspective. But really, you've invited us into your space, and we are here again to share with you what we believe is fundamental to keeping us united and enabling us to work together. So the next part of our session is going to take you out of the role in that small cohort, in that small circle, in that group that you're leading, and it's sort of going to move to the country operations, country level. But each of us is a leader, and each of us can support our country in different spaces in addition to what we're doing. So we're going to cover four tools that cover country operations. Reporting into those tools may not be your express role, but you're able to give your insight, you're able to contribute. So Judith, I'd like to invite you again to take us through the fundraising tool.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am collecting some money. Margaret, please, what do you have to report? Anybody, patient? Wendy, we are collecting money. This is what we want to discuss. How are we going to monitor what I am doing, collecting money? Because we are all doing this with our TV cards. So I have prepared a short presentation. Where is it? It's here. Can you see it? You can all see it? I have prepared a short presentation and I would like us to go through it. I'm trying to get the screen so that it can come on as a slideshow. Excuse me. Okay, let's just go on as this because I have a bit. So who and what present? Pardon me?
At the top? At the top?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So who does it? The fundraising, we all participate in it, but the person that really addresses and the fundraising. Hello? Okay. All right then. Who uses the fundraising is the committee that has been tasked by the country. And they use this so that they're able to track what it is that they're collecting. So who is collecting this? This is collected, as I said, by the fundraising team, and the data is collected anytime and every time somebody actually puts something into the tin that they're collecting. But when they collect all of this data, it needs to be reported annually. So by December, we need to know how many people have actually put in and dropped money into our little tin that we have for each and every country. By monitoring this, we are able to know where we are growing as an organization or as a team in our countries in terms of collecting data, collecting resources and funds. And it also gives us ideas of how can we then even expand our fundraising? Where can we go? What are the needs that are emerging that we need to fundraise for? And while we're doing this, we have different aspects that we're recording and different aspects that we're trying to get a hold of. So we need to know what is the amount, how many shillings, dollars, rands, whatever it is that we have, how many have we collected? And then we also need to benchmark ourselves. This year we have collected 1,000 shillings. Next year it is 2,000 or 200,000, so that then we are able to see how much we have grown or how much we have shrunk. And in all of this, we're then able to know what we need to do to mitigate whatever it is. But if we're going down, to mitigate the decline, if we're going up, to enhance our going up and to make it better. And it also finally gives us an idea of how much and how we're collaborating with the global the global organization, Girls for Girls, how much they're supporting us. And yes, maybe we can also give them some form of support. So this is what the fundraising is all about. So if you go back to our mother document, earlier in the morning, I had talked about the mother document, which is the results matrix. You are going to have a section of fundraising. And in the fundraising section, you have the indicators. And this is what each country team can actually look at and customize. And these indicators are collecting something different. And if you are able to report on these indicators, you're then able to contribute more directly or contribute and show your contribution to the global effort that is being done. So the first thing is the amount raised as a result of publicity from social media campaigns. So we have different kinds of campaigns that are going on. Are we using our social media? How are we using it? And even as we use it, are we able to generate funds and interest from the different platforms? So maybe you'll find that if you use Facebook, you're not getting as much. But if you use Instagram, you're getting interest and you're beginning to gain, to raise more money. So this is the kind of data then you're able to record, and you're able to then see how much has been collected, by whom, who provided the resources, and when, at what point did they do it? Was it before the campaign started, during, after? Was it somebody who had a friend who has a friend who works in Google or wherever, and then they were approached? So these are the different mechanisms that you're able to identify. The key to this for each country team is that they're able to identify where their support is coming from, how much is coming, and then it also gives them an idea of where else to look, so that you're not wasting time going down alleys that are not going to help you, but you are able to go to places that are going to be more fruitful for you. The other aspect that we measure, and that as a country you will need to measure, would be the increase in the funds that are raised by G4G compared to last year or the years before. And this is good to track you so that you're able to then know, are the campaigns, are the efforts we're putting in place helping us grow? Are the efforts that we're putting in place in tandem with our environment? So pre-COVID, I suppose it would have been okay going to a bus stop or somewhere and just having a team, or having a fundraiser, having a gala dinner, or having a fashion show, or whatever it was. But now in the COVID area, in the COVID times, we have to change our format of how we do fundraising, because we can't have the galas, and we can't, because of social distancing and everything. So this is when we are now able, unless we analyze the data and we're able to see the dips, and we're then able to also analyze the environment and the context within which you are working with, then we're not able to collect these two data items and many others to then give us perspectives and to show us how and where we need to focus on. The main thing is, whatever we are doing, we need to seek innovation. We need to seek new ways of doing things. We need to seek new partners and interest new people who would be interested in actually contributing to G4G. So that we have not only the mentors and the mentees who are contributing in their time and in their skills, but also we have external people that could be running and providing and supporting us in finances and many other things. Like we had the example of data time and things like that. Okay. So with all of these indicators, we have targets, and your targets are going to be different. And this is when you sit down as a country team, you're going to synthesize this, think about this, and think about your country context. So where are we going to go? And to whom are we going to be asking the resources? In our master plan, our master targets would be the private sector. You have private companies, you have big companies. Usually the telecom companies are very big, and you have NGOs, you have governments, and these are the kind of people that we are looking at for the external resources that we're looking for. But in your countries, look, you may have other people that are also willing and ready and have also contributed to it, to fundraising in your particular context. Then targets increase gradually, and they will continue to increase as we grow as a team in country and also globally. And the more we grow, the better we're going to be at writing our proposals, targeting the people who we're going to be reaching our proposals with, marketing for the proposals, because there's no need of writing a proposal when you don't have the people, the particular institution that you're targeting has not called out for proposals. They're not interested. So you also need to know when is the right time to go out and actually pitch these proposals, so that we are then able to get a better and a more favorable response for ourselves, and also to link G4G. So that is a general overview. I know several of us and several of our teams have probably not started on this, perhaps in a formal way. You have done some form of fundraising. Document what you have and start thinking about the new areas, the new innovations you have, and then look at the areas that you can go into. I need to exit this, not to stop sharing, just a minute. Just a minute. I now want to change, because I want to show you the particular template that the fundraising report that you are going to need, that you're going to be using. And this is in your in the toolkit that was provided. And again, customize it to what is the reality, but we have some bases, like we need to know the country, we need to know the year and the period that you are reporting for. So it is January to December. As we said, what is required is that as you collect, you document, but the main report and the final report is going to be an annual report. So document as you raise, okay? Then the different avenues or the different vehicles or the modalities that you're using for your fundraising. Is it galas? Is it social media? Which social media? How much are you actually getting? What are you getting? The interest, the book club. So this is, depending on your country, you are going to add the different fundraising tools and methods that you have, so that you can then include them and you're able to report on them. And then you have the general section that then talks about fundraising last year or in previous time periods, and the different sources that you may have. You may want to, these are the ones that you have, private sector, NGOs, local, international, government. You also have no funds raised, and then the other is going to give us indication of where it is and the type of funding that you got. Because different people, different institutions are going to fund different things. Some of the funding may be earmarked to what we call earmarked, and they say, we're providing this money, but we want you to go directly to mentees, or this is for infrastructure, or this is for, so depending on the kind of funding and what the instruction from the funder is, then you have an opportunity to actually indicate what was funded and by whom, and where the funds were coming from, whether it was local or international, the different areas. So with that, we have a glimpse at the fundraising and how we monitor it, and the tools and the different things that we need to include in it. I had mentioned earlier, Zambia has got a good example. I encourage you, as you fundraise, please document, and please let's share it, because this is going to be so important as we share amongst each other and the different teams, because then that strengthens us and strengthens our fundraising efforts. Do I have any questions or comments? Or
thank you so much, Judith. No questions, but Rita is asking all of us to give feedback and input and saying, what are you documenting? What fundraising information and where and how are you documenting it? Are you recording minutes? Do you have an accountant's, session? So I'm going to ask Namchana to
Yes.
unmute herself. She has something to share.
Thank you, Diana. I wanted to comment on the different fundraising ideas. Apart from what Judy said, apart from maybe asking for funds, there are some companies that may want to support your event. Let's say you're going to have a town hall, or you're going to have some session where you have maybe are coming together with different mentors and mentees. Some may want to advertise, like if you look at mobile phone companies, you look at insurance, you look at universities, you look at banks, they may sponsor the event, they hire a venue for you, they pay for meals and refreshments, and then they brand the events. They could even provide data and internet connectivity. So it's not about just giving you money. So maybe we could take advantage of those. I don't know if you wanted us to talk about the partnership we have now, or that to come later.
I think that will come later because we have the other tools we're discussing, and there's a time factor. But what I would encourage you and any other country that has fundraising is to document and share with all of us, so that then we are able to learn from your experience. And Namkana has also said something very important, because when you're fundraising, it's not always about money. Money is good and money moves. Sometimes you get skills. Somebody can say, you know what, we've got a team of these ladies that can help you in maths, English, science, and they can sit down with the mentees and actually engage. That is a resource. You've raised some funds, so to speak. You've raised skill, you've raised time, you've raised so many other things. So look at fundraising broadly and not necessarily just about my tin thing, because so many things can come into the tin cup.
Can I just
Thank
add
you.
Yes. This is a tool, but the tool will only make sense if you know where you're sourcing your information. So I'm underscoring the point about where is the information to be able to report and complete that fundraising tool come from? And we admit, all of us are new in this game. We're still building systems, but you always need to say, what is the structure in place? Do we have a fundraising committee, or do we have a designated person on the national team that is responsible for it? How is that information captured? Is it in the fundraising committee minutes? What are the potential other data sources? For example, when mentors donate data, for a session, how is that captured? Is it in the session reports? So we really need, this is probably an area for really thinking through. Let's not overwhelm ourselves. There's a tool now, but I think there's also homework for all of us. We need to go back to our countries and say, I'm sitting on the fundraising committee, but how will I make sure I capture all fundraising information, not just the big ones? Because there's small ones like the mentor donations towards data that we also should be recognizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. And with those words, I would like to move us on to the next tool. And Rita, it's you, talking about communication. You have exactly 5 minutes. Judith, thank you so much. Sending you flowers, hearts, and much, much love. Thank you.
Okay, so we're letting Judith go because she has a very important obligation. I was actually supposed to have come first because I was supposed to remind you guys of the theory of change and how we track this theory of change. So you're familiar with this process. We talked about it last week, whereby imagine how the cohorts start off. The country team mobilizes and registers mentors. We also identify mentees. Then we start creating those cohorts. We say, okay, in cohort, which one? Girls rule, we have maybe 10 mentors and maybe we have 80 girls, yeah? And then the cohort activities start and then they complete. And when they're done, we have a graduation. And then we said, we don't just let our mentees go out. We then invite them to stay as part of the G4G, because remember, we're a movement, we need to be able to grow. So we can't just have mentees and we let them drop off. We want them to stay by us. So we invite them to be part of the G4G alumni and any other initiatives that we have. But we also invite them back to become mentors. Yeah. So we actually have targets in the results framework that says this is the plowback. This is the percentage of mentees we are hoping come back and join Team Kenya, Team Botswana, that type of thing. And then the former mentees, now we are hoping that they will set up their own cohorts. But how do we report and track all of this information? So you'll find that the communications team actually start the journey. A lot of our work, especially I think when we go beyond having exhausted our networks, I feel, for instance, I've exhausted my networks recruiting mentors in South Africa. We now need to step up, and it looks like that source is going to come from the communications team. The activities that are happening on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, our global global website and things like that. When you're talking about registering the mentees and the mentors, we acknowledge the two critical tools, and we referred to them again today, are the registration for mentors, registration for mentees, which also includes a baseline, the survey document where we establish where the girl's coming from. And then once the activities start, the major tool that kicks into action are the feedback forms, yeah? Because we are routinely monitoring, finger on the pulse. But we also, remember, we talked about it in session 1, after about 6 months to about a year, we come back and then we do an evaluation, which is a more interrogative process. So we've walked the stage until the girls graduate. But then we said, we are asking the girls to stay behind. How do we monitor their activities? How do we ensure that they're not just staying behind and we're not tracking their growth? So we will have partnership reports. So in those partnership reports, we'll understand what it is, for instance, we do under alumni and potentially other outreach activities. And then anything to do with training, we know that we have a training report, which Mary shall be covering shortly. And then once mentees set up their own cohorts, we start the cycle again. It goes back to the front. So this session that I'm covering is on the communications report. The communications people, I think, are the ones who have the power to take G4G to the next level, especially under G4G 2.0. They're the ones who are really going to take us to scale. So this communications report is used by communications and the social media committee. That's what they're broadly called. In the different countries, it might be different, to track their efforts. We have one very functional, very operational in South Africa. And the report that so Karima has been doing reports, but not very structured. But now what we're hoping is that on a quarterly basis, she will be generating this communications report. It will be used both by ourselves as well as the global team. So the national team and the cohort coordinators will be able to say, okay, when I look at this social media report, we can see where people are following us. So and what the profile of the followers are. So for example, someone who is trying to set up a cohort for young professional women, we know we're looking at a certain age group. We should then be able to look at this communications report and say, oh, the majority of our followers and likers between the age 20 to 24, because I'm assuming that's where the young professionals would be, are on Instagram. So it means that when we are, for instance, doing our recruitment drive, then we want to advertise more on Instagram. That's one way that you can use it. This report is generated on a quarterly basis. And you're going to realize that a lot of our reporting is quarterly. I think the exceptions are partnerships and fundraising. Otherwise, the quarterly is important. It's the routine, it's the monitoring, it's the finger on the pulse, so that we always know where the changes are coming from. Why are we collecting this information? It's to know which platforms are the most effective. The example I've just given you. When you're recruiting, if it's for mentees, which platform would you use? The example I gave you, for example, Instagram. But when you're recruiting mentors, for example, in South Africa, we realize that LinkedIn is very powerful for mentors, as well as identifying potential speakers. So what do we collect in the communications report? It's mentees that made contact via social media. This one is going to be a hard one to crack, but the social media team wanted this in there, and I was like, okay, it's the starting point. We shall try and monitor it. We also, within the tool that I'm just about to show you, we look at the types of social media accounts that are used by the country. We look at the G4G followers on social media, because that's what it is. It's not just about having a Facebook account. It's like how many people are following us on the Facebook account, and then the collaborations that start via social media. And it might be someone says, or you guys are running a great program, can you come to my university and talk to maybe a particular department or maybe a club of young women who could benefit from G4G. So that is the content of the tool. Now I want to show you what the tool, where do I have this exit? I would like to show you what the tool actually looks like. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see it? So it's a yes or no? I can't.
Yes, we can see.
We okay.
Yes.
In South Africa, we would say yebo. I hope my people will acknowledge that. Yeah. Okay. So communications and social media, there are different types of social media. Yeah, that one can use, and here they are. They're listed. We ask you which ones do you use, and then you're going to see that there are a certain set of questions that we are asking. Number of fans. I was informed that fans are not necessarily followers. Number of followers, we also, and then the followers for each of these, and you're going to see that we are monitoring for Facebook, we're monitoring for Insta, we're monitoring for LinkedIn, and the questions are the same. So if we go back to Facebook, we want to know how many followers, we want to know how many fans we have, but we break it down. And those age brackets become important for the reason I said, because if you want to make a post on recruiting mentees, then you know Facebook is effective. If you want to recruit for mentors, LinkedIn is effective. So that's why this tool looks long, but it's really not. It's the same data set. You're just reporting it by age groups. And then the number of collaborations, like I said, maybe people approached G4G, you know, via the event, or they approached us to go and play a different role. I was invited, for example, to go and speak at an event that was organized by the Gauteng provincial government. I forget the name of it, but it gave us exposure. And through that exposure, we actually ended up recruiting some mentors. So I hope I've done my 5 minutes. Or did I do 7?
Yes, thank you, Rita.
Okay.
We are very mindful of your time, ladies. So we're moving quickly to the next tool, and that's a training tool, and Mary will be taking us through. This is the tool information where we will capture mentors from your country who have been trained. Mary?
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, Rita, for your presentation. I think we take a moment and really reflect on what does quality mean for G4G. I think this is one of the things that it's at our heart, that we need to ensure that we are having quality, and that quality means that we are having mentors that are being trained to facilitate the sessions as we have. So we are looking at who actually is involved in this particular reporting of the training, who compiles that particular report. So maybe in the chat box, you can enter there who you can enter in the chat who is actually charged with compiling.
Supposed to be working not on the phone.
All right, there is okay, thank you. Enter in the chat box, who in your country is charged with the responsibility of compiling the training report. So we are looking at, probably your country has a person in charge of training. If not that, enter the alternative person that normally does that, who uses this particular report. So we have the country lead and the cohort leads are going to be using this to get to know who are the mentors who are registered, which mentors are actually trained to facilitate the mentoring sessions. We are also looking at other users like the strategy team in your country or the directors. We are looking at the marketing team, just looked at communication team, etc. They want to know how are our mentors getting to know about us. So this tool also provides that particular information. We are going to be providing a quarterly report. New mentors are being trained every quarter, and also the old mentors that are being trained in every quarter, and which kind of trainings we are offering and how many people are participating on that. Why is this important to us? We want to know the available mentors ready to mentor. We also want to know, out of all those who express interest in mentoring, what percentage of that do actually get trained to mentor? We want to be able to strategize on the training that we have and to improve the quality of our training. We want to ensure that our marketing and communication teams are being informed of the channels where we are getting our mentors, because that's also the information we collect. So what actually are we collecting what actually are we presenting in this particular report? We are looking at the types of trainings that have been conducted. So we normally have the basic training for mentors. You may have a trainer of training, and now we have the monitoring and evaluation training. So you can also enter in your chat box, what other trainings are you offering in your country? We want to know the percentage of women that actually express interest in mentoring and actually register and go through the basic mentor training. We want to get to know the percentage of mentors being trained as TOT per quarter. So you have trainers and you can have sessions. We also want to know the frequency of the training. So you can also list in the chat box all the aspects that you train for in your country. So we have the how. I won't go into the how because Kenny will take us into the how exactly, but we are looking at what resources we use to actually be able to get the data that we use to generate these particular reports, and how we generate the reports and how we grow our databases. We want to know, where do we extract information? Where do you go? So Kenny will take us through that very briefly in my report. So when you look at the data, the report, like the percentages from our results framework, we want to know the percentage of mentors that have been formally trained and are ready to go on. Remember, we are looking at the quality of our program, and the quality is based on the training that we offer. So we want to make sure that all the women that are getting interested or expressing interest, those who get registered, are trained and they are ready to become mentors, and as fast as possible. So you also look at the frequency of training. Do you do it per month or do you do it every quarter? So how frequently do you do that? And that is based on the number of mentors also that you're recruiting. So again, we're looking, what are we really going to be reporting on every quarter? So we're looking at the new mentors. Remember the question that we had, that we are not being redundant with our information. So every quarter you want to know, do we have new mentors that have registered and expressed interest in training? You may have old mentors that also decide to still join the training, to be retrained again. So you have to keep track of all that and report on that, on the new and the old mentors that are going through the training. You also want to know the type of trainings that are there, and the number of mentors who do the basic training, they go on to train as TOT. And then people who are interested in your monitoring framework and they want to be trained in that. So those are the numerators, yeah? Then our denominator, basically, we just want to know how many mentors registered, the number of mentors that registered. So you need to know that so that you can see also the percentage, like what Steffi presented, so that you have context. So you have 57% of mentors trained, but we had 1,000 that registered. So why are there very few, or there are many that are actually getting interested in our training? So I will take us through the tool itself, but reflect on what is happening in your country. Do you have a training report? Are you generating a training report? How does that look like? And does this make sense to you? And then how do you grow your database? So the tool is coming up here. So basically, you will collect the basic information about the trainers, like the period when you have to indicate when you're reporting for, which quarter of the year you're reporting for. Then you have the mentor training data. You want to know the number of new mentors that you're trained every quarter. You want to know the total number of mentors, the new and the old, at the end of every quarter, that have all been trained. Remember, it's mentors who are trained. Then indicate the number of people trained in the quarter. Then you'll be looking at how many did the basic training, how many went through the trainer of trainer training, and how many went through the M&E. So you can have all the trainings that you're offering in your country listed over here. So then you can basically get to know how you can comment. That is now the person in charge of training, and the cohort, the people who are training, they can enter their comments. So basically this is the tool, and this can be customized to every country to reflect what it is that you're doing in your country. So I will let Kenny take us through this, Diana, because it was important that she takes us. Where do you go to generate your data? How do you grow your database? It's critical, and she's been doing that for South Africa. So Kenny, if you're on.
Hi, Mary.
I stop sharing, right?
Yes, please stop sharing.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I have a few connection problems, so I'm going to just keep my camera off to be safe. So just to go through it quickly. So for us in South Africa, here's what we've started doing. And so after we've generated our registration form, right? I'm going to take you step by step. So we'll have responses. So if you see this green button here, create spreadsheet, we would create a spreadsheet from that, okay? And then you create a new spreadsheet. Okay, we don't have responses, so ours will be blank. But in the end, it comes out looking like this. Okay, with all the people that have registered and all of their responses. Okay, so after every training, like the one we held that was held today, what I do is I get the list of people that have trained.
Sorry, Kinney, we can't see anything. We just see a pink screen.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so after you've generated a spreadsheet, what you'll get is the list of everyone that has responded, okay, with all the questions. So what I do at the end of each training, just such as the one they've held today, is I will write whether the mentors, I'll take note of the mentors that joined the training. Okay, so, and then what we did, because especially this year, our UJ cohort needed more mentors, and we weren't sure who was available and trained, is that we wrote down which cohort everyone is in right now. So these are the mentors, you can't see their names, but and what cohort they're part of, and then all the blank ones. Now you see, let me give you a person's example name. Okay, Sharon. Sharon is trained, okay, but she's not part of a cohort. And that is somebody we can now target for a cohort that is in need of more mentors. So as I'm about to update it again with all the UJ ones, because now UJ started, and THMC, so now I'll populate that. It will also help because cohorts such as the multi-university ends in May, but we have other cohorts coming up. Now we know, okay, you did multi-university, so now I know you've trained, you've had experience in a cohort. Now definitely I can steal you for the next cohort, let's say University of Pretoria, and you'll be a valuable mentor for that cohort. So this is a good way to keep track of everyone in 2021. Okay, stop there. Any questions, please type and I will answer.
And Kinney, we're going to be adding to this, right? Because we now have M&E training. So column R will probably be M&E training. But I think the point is that this is an output of your registration, mentors registration database. So if you've done your mentors registration database, it becomes so logical and so easy to have your information, which is why I think if everyone can get registration in place for mentors and for mentees, you already have very powerful information sitting with you. But Kinney is extremely organized because she, after every training, she then goes back and then she indicates that type of thing. And you can see the color coding and things like that. So look for people within your teams that have those strengths. I think we thrive because of people like Kinney. So it's not just the tools as well, it's also the people that you ask and task to do these things.
Thank you, Kinney. So on the last thing is our action on the training report is basically like what we have said, establish the baseline. Make sure that you have your mentors registered at the very beginning, and then you have those registered for training, also like a register for each particular training, so that you have something that you can use to compare how you are doing in developing the quality of your program. So develop an action plan, okay, to address any gaps that you identify, because one of the purpose of this report is also to see the gaps. You have 1,000 mentors that have registered for training, but then you have only maybe 300 that have trained. Why are they not training? And then also to see what channels are we using to get to the mentors, and how can we be able to capitalize on that? So have an action plan. So thank you so much. Diana, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. So I quickly sneaked in a request in the chat function for an extra 15 minutes. And thank you for staying on. So please accommodate us. We are left with 2 tools and then we just wrap it up. And I'm going to be talking to you about partnerships. An interesting question has been asked. How often will the M&E team provide this wonderful training in any particular year? This is the first. I promise you we'll go back to the drawing board and work out when the next session will be, considering the different continents, different time zones. But one thing that we've also engaged on is that we are willing to come into your country, work with you around dates which work for you, times which work for you, and make sure that you actually, that the team and you guys actually receive the know-how and have the confidence to actually execute. So going back to partnerships. Partnerships, very, very interesting space. G4G has grown largely, many partnerships, many relationships, but in terms of what we want to cover today, we are saying that annually, we hope that one, you will designate a team to support the country leads in following up the partnership element of your G4G activities. And this has not been defined because we expect that you will do different activities with different people, third parties, or mentors in-house, but who want to offer an add-on. So it's an add-on to anything G4G. G4G 6 sessions, and any add-on is a partnership. So it could be mentors from inside, they could be external people. Now, Mchana, I'm putting you on notice. You will give us 1 minute. You'll share with us your partnership. But who uses this tool? I said it's the country leadership team. It's filled annually, but in Uganda, we have a country coordinator by the same name. There's Kini in South Africa and Kenya, there's Laura. So your teams for the other countries, once you reach out, for example, to Uganda, I many times will put you in touch with Patricia. So we have the resources to support you. Why? It consolidates all the information relating to partnerships. As I've said, partnerships is any add-on to the 6 G4G sessions. So South Africa has been able to grow an alumni group. That alumni group consists of their mentees, and they've been able to actually roll out trainings for CV writing, for office, how do you show up in the office, etc. Uganda has seen some mentors innovate around the fireside chat, where we invite inspirational women to share their stories, book club, where we have brought together mentors from across the world, and they are reading a book together in a particular season and then doing a book review. So it's an add-on, and I'm looking internally. My examples are going to be internal. Chana is going to share external view. Then what do we capture? We capture the statistics and numbers related to partnerships, and I want to go straight into that tool. And then we also capture the programs that have been initiated in that particular year. So I'm going to stop sharing and ask Rita to kindly share that tool for me. And then Chana, I'll invite you to share with us in 1 minute. So as that tool comes up, maybe you can post in your...
Namchana go first while I pull up
Okay, sawa. So Namchana, yes, just share with us the external partnership.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, Diana. And just to say, this is a great session, and I'm really enjoying it and learning something new every day. And as we learn about M&E, we're also learning how to become better organized as mentors. So I want to say that to begin with, it depends on how you run the whole program in your country. If you're committed about G4G and people see what you're doing and there's high levels of visibility, they are going to seek you out and want to associate with you. Because I think the agenda to promote girls and women for leadership is becoming big in a lot of countries. So we have had loose relationships with different institutions, the universities and some of the colleges. But recently we had CIDAS approach us for partnership on a program. CIDAS is the Center for Infectious Disease Research in Zambia. And they have, they deal with health and HIV prevention and things like that. So they have a program that's been funded by an organization called VIV, where they are targeting adolescents. They want to reach 500 HIV positive adolescents to teach them, teach them about leadership. So the G4G will come in to provide training to peer educators who are in turn going to roll out the program and reach 500 mentees in 2.5 years. And for us, it's an exciting program. We've signed an MOU with CIDAS where they launch, and the excitement is they will hire the mentees themselves, and then they will support the logistics. When the mentees come together, they will, find the venues, support the logistics for the venue, and even, pay for the training material. The mentors won't get anything. They're doing it voluntarily, but it helps us in terms of our visibility and just showing that we're giving back to society. I think I'll end. My minute is up.
Thank you. Flowers to you, flowers for sharing that powerful story. So Rita is going to share that tool, and I'm just going to share two perspectives. Internally, what we've been doing, to in terms of partnerships, and I'll keep adding on Namchana's experience. So of course, it's a country report, so you will share, and then for the year in question and the period that that you're covering. So we are looking at the calendar year, 1st January to 31st December. So in terms of new partnerships for the period, simply indicates it's open-ended. You'll spell out what you have been doing, anything in addition to the 6 sessions. Then in terms of partnering arrangements, we have again provided a space for other. So data is something that mentors have given. We are running a physical cohort now, and one of our mentors has provided for the first, the eats, what do you call them? Eats, snacks that are being provided to the mentees. So you can add something anything that you want to add. But if it falls within sponsorship, like Namchana and funding, that is a specific add there. So number of partnerships, again, you will speak to that. And then now this is the quantitative, just give us a number. We want to know, are you struggling? Do you have partnerships? How many? Then I'm at C32. So describe the type of complementary activities. As I've said, anything in addition to. And here I'm just going to maybe ask you if you're doing anything in addition to the 6 sessions. Lillian, if you've done something, Zimbabwe, if you've done something, you can post it. I've attended a fireside chat for Zimbabwe as well as Zambia. So, and of course, South Africa. So keep posting. So number of cross-country collaborations are taken in the course of the year. Today, we are collaborating with South Africa in the multi-university cohort, where we have university students from different parts from West to and East Africa. And that's something that we're collaborating on. But also, if, for example, fireside chat or the goal setting, we've done a goal setting session where we had South Africa support and Uganda support, and we invited people from across the continent. And that is something that has the cross country. So once you describe that, there's a specific action that we're looking for, and you can also add other. And then the next, so what we're looking for is for you to see, we're trying to say, okay, this movement, how is it feeding itself? How is it propagating? How is it, sort of cultivating the culture in and bringing on board partners who can help it go further. So I'm going to stop here. And if you have any questions, I'm happy for you to answer, but I would like to see you post in the chat function if you're doing anything in addition to your 6 sessions. Okay, Elinda asks a very good question. M&E team, if the forms are customized, which is a good thing when the data trends be slightly distorted. So I'll just speak in layman's term, Rita first, then I'll hand it over to you. So the first thing is you make a copy for your country. Now, when you send in the reports, maybe it will be something that we actually realize is very critical, very important. And also as part of this M&E team, we're going to have a session where we come back to you and check in with your countries and say, okay, how are you using the tool? How have you modified them? And then we will pick up lessons maybe that you've adapted and brought them into this space with the aim that these tools will constantly be evolving. If you innovate and have something that works, we may put it across all countries and start measuring it and start marking it. Otherwise, we may mark it as a differentiator. So in terms of my layman's feedback, I'm going to now ask Rita and Mary to specifically speak to that.
No, it's a very good question. And we need to be clear on what the word customize means. Customize means you can change your options. So for example, the types of activities that are being done in Zambia, I think, what did you have in there, Diana? I think you had something about fireside chats, alumni, but you might find that in Zambia, you have something else, you know, like whatever days that you set up, whatever it is. So the options can be customized. Or take my favorite one that I give as an example is like in the registration forms for the mentees, we ask what cellular provider do you use, because we want to know, you know, which data to buy for you. So in South Africa, our form will have Vodacom, MTN, Cell C. But in Uganda, it might have Orange, it might have whichever one, UTL, whatever the options are. So let's be clear, customization refers to the options to make it reflect your context. If you start tampering with the questions, indeed, it's not going to work. And I'm actually going to address it. I'm the next session that shows how the data comes together. The moment you start disorganizing the flow of the indicators, some of you might have been seeing B 2.3, D something, they're coded that way because when we pull the data together, it feeds into certain indicators and they automatically calculate. I'm just going to show that to you right now. So the one way you can customize, if you, for instance, want to add a new question, you go to the bottom of the form after the last question that the official tool has, and you can add, because it won't distort everything above it. It will just add to the bottom of the information when it comes in. So that's what I would say. But don't start changing the descriptions of the indicators or things, because then it only becomes for Zambia. Because if Uganda is not monitoring that and Kenya is not, then we can't even assemble the data together. I hope that is clear. Okay. But Belinda, now, for instance, and I know why you're asking it, because of the CIDAS project. Namuchana, for instance, has said this is a special cohort. It's PLHIV. It's receiving major funding. We will add those questions, but like I'm saying, we can add them to the bottom of, or if required, we can even have a deeper, more detailed tool that is relevant for you to submit to CIDAS that is beyond G4G. Okay.
Okay, perfect, Rita. Thank you so much. I also have another question that I'll put there, and you can answer it later so that I don't crowd the discussion with only my questions. But yeah, thank you for that. Thank you to you, Diana.
I can see your question. So these are reports. Huh? This is not yet the output. I'm actually working on dashboards. It's something I've not even yet shared with my team, because these are reports which it's still pulling the information. It's still pulling the information. But when we finally look at the information, that you want those pie charts and visuals and things like that, I'm actually looking in to see how we can standardize them and maybe even put them on the G4G website, so that at any point in time, someone will say, I want to see how many mentees there are. G4G keeps on saying 1 million mentees, but where are they today? I actually want to see which countries these mentees come from. So that dashboard, we would love to have and have it in a visible place. But that's your final end of analysis. For now, what we have been going through in session 1 and in session 2 is collecting the data, transmitting the data, transmitting it to the next level. Even now, I'm still going to talk about how does the information come pull together within the country before it gets sent to the next level.
Thank you, Rita. So this is the last two ladies, and then after that we'll wrap up. So Rita, take it off. Thank you.
Okay. I was on partnerships, yeah. Okay, so we've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot. We've talked about a number of tools, yeah? Let's go back to those 3 cohorts that I talked about earlier on today, yeah? In Kenya, the MTN one, the Nairobi High School, and Girls Rule. So they prepare their quarterly reports, and then we said what happens? It goes into an M&E quarterly report, which pulls together mentee and mentor data. Mentee and mentor data, because that is information coming from a cohort. But we have also talked about these other tools. The fundraising report will be generated once a year. The partnership report will also be generated once a year in December. The quarterly report every quarter, training and communications every quarter. So these key reports are coming together. Who pulls it together? There's one last report, yeah? So this is where, if you look in the M&E plan that has been shared with you guys, the global one, there has to be someone who at the end of the day pulls all the data together, not just the mentee and mentor data, which is what we have been very focused on, but also the training information, the communications information, all of it must enter into one report. And we're calling it the country quarterly report. I'm going to show it to you, and it's actually broken down into 2 bits. And I know that this is going to be a bit much. So this is the one point I am offering to come and sit with the country teams to explain how it comes together. The data first enters an Excel spreadsheet. So it's going to look like a template. You remember the coding of the numbers that I just referred to? You're going to see how those numbers cascade and why we put them next to each other. So for example, number of mentees that graduated, that's a numerator over the number of mentees that started the cohort. Then we can calculate what we call a graduation rate. So we have laid it out, and this is where M&E gets complex, but we're trying not to make it complicated for you. Just submit those reports and we will know how to pull it together. So like I said, the committee leads, so maybe fundraising, maybe the M&E focal person, the communications people will submit that data. That data will be then populated by the country's overarching focal person for M&E into the Excel sheet. You're going to see it just now. The calculations are automatic. We have automated the document. That report must be reviewed. Before a report leaves Uganda, it's important Diana casts an eye and says, is this really accurate? Because even just today, I think on the global group, we were talking about the data that Morgan had shared. Immediately, Diana said, there's something that's missing here. Immediately, I could tell you, oh, young professionals is missing, athlon data is missing. So this report, remember, if you've been listening to all the other reports, we've been asking all the other quarterly reports be submitted to the next level within 5 days. So we're giving enough time for everyone to submit. This report, because it's pulling together all the country data, we've given it a little bit more time. It will be prepared 2 weeks after the end of the quarter. So for example, the lead for communications will prepare it by the 5th of April. But when the country report is being prepared, it will only happen around the 15th of April, so that we have enough time for the information to flow upwards. And in case there are any gaps, you can go back and say, oh, but we think this is missing. Why are we doing it? This is important for the leadership within the country to know that things are on track. I give the example in South Africa. This year we are scaling up. We have so many cohorts. We have bigger numbers of girls that are joining. Our data costs, cellular data costs for the girls to be able to attend have skyrocketed. We now really need our fundraising team to kick into action, because all along we've been funding through contributions from mentors. And yeah, you know, we have a few well-wishers to people from people who want to support G4G South Africa, but that tank is quickly running dry. So we actually need to ramp up. This is why the leaders need to look at all the different data sets, because it's good to say, yes, the engine is churning on the cohort side, but we are running out of money or the ability to sponsor these online meetings. So team fundraising, where are you? What is happening over there? Or maybe we have planned for cohorts and we don't have cohorts. This is where you said, team communications, what are you doing? So this is why this overarching report comes together. The use of it is really by the country team leaders, but it's also important for the global, because the global, remember, is putting all the numbers together. I spoke about Morgan. Morgan now traditionally has been doing collecting and capturing mentee, mentor, and cohort data. But now we have people like Mimi sitting in this room, who is leading the training team, subcommittee number 2. She wants to know what are the effects of everything that we have been doing. We have Catherine from Uganda, who is leading subcommittee 1, which is head of, she leads the fundraising. She's going to want to know what's happening in South Africa on the fundraising, what's happening in Uganda. Are there any lessons to share? Who is being more successful? Why? So that information cannot just stop at the country level, it needs to cascade to the higher level. The what is these 5 big tools that we have actually spoken about today, okay? So I know we're out of time. I'm not even looking at my phone, Diana, because I know that that's probably what is busy buzzing on my side. I don't know why I got out of there. Sorry, no, my thing is refusing to move. Okay, let me move it a little bit lower. So for those of you who have accessed this folder, you're going to see something called country level report. And you'll go into it, and there are 2 documents. Here's the first one that the G4G South Africa person, the one who is overall in charge of pulling all the data together, whether it's cohort data, communications data, this is what they will complete. So if you look along the lines here, this is why you've been seeing some strange coding of your questions in the forms. Don't worry about it. As long as the data is coming in, we will know how it fits in. And what we've done, these might look like formula errors, but it's because it needs data. So for example, number of mentees that heard about G4G through, let me start with the denominator. The number of mentees that made contact via social media this quarter. So for example, let's say 100 girls hear about G4G in South Africa, and they say, we want to come and join G4G. And they register via, maybe they contact us via Instagram. That's where, say, the university girls tend to be. But not all 100 of them ultimately join, yeah? But a certain number do. Then say, for instance, 80 join. Do you see how it automatically calculated? Yeah? So the trick is just for the data to be populated, it will automatically calculate. We have laid it out so that Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and even the total annual data will automatically. So for instance, if I say 45 girls here and I say 50, it's automatically building up. So even as a country team leader, Namuchana will, for instance, be able to say, oh, okay, we are doing quite well on this indicator. Okay, so that is the tool that needs to be populated. The next thing that needs to be populated is this is now the report that the person who consolidates the information will take from the Excel document and put it into this document, which is what goes to global level. Yeah. So the Excel document is to consolidate the data. It is put in Excel because there is no other way. We now need to start calculating the data, but not everyone needs to know about this. There will be a few select group of people who will be responsible for this. And once this information has been assembled, then they will prepare the consolidated report that goes upwards. So this session is really to help you know that these things are there, but the actual learning of how to populate this tool, we will now come and work with you guys one-on-one, Uganda, Zambia, whoever it is. Even my team still needs to learn. So that's it. Now, if you think about it, we've closed the reporting process because we talked about registration, we talked about collecting feedback forms. Steffi explained to you how to prepare session reports. Diana explained how we can even have an end of session, cohort report, end of cycle report. We know that we report on a quarterly basis for cohorts. We know communications, training, etc. come in. It enters one country report. That country report is submitted upwards. And that's the end of the monitoring story within your respective countries. I hope it makes sense, and I hope it helps you have a clear idea of how this data cascades.
Flowers, 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 flowers. I'm going to speak. It's you really brought it together, and I feel empowered, you know. Yeah. So we are going to, my part was really to engage you and to see whether we could create space for you guys before you leave this room to meet and agree what your next steps are. But what we're going to do is I'm going to ask in the chat function, if you're here representing a country, just indicate, for Botswana, I'll take responsibility to give feedback on our next steps. Namchana or Belinda from Zambia, please indicate. South Africa, please indicate. Kenya, please indicate, so that this M&E team can follow up with you specifically. But as an individual, we are going to share some feedback forms, and in that feedback is very critical information. And the information is, how are you going back to support your country? It could be in one of the listed options, it could be other. So we pray, we hope that you will pay it forward, and you will pay it forward by actually, doing, executing and taking the first step. And I will echo again that we are going to support you. We are going to work with you. We will send you information, again, resend what we've sent. And I am going to ask Rita to talk about the general discussion and to talk about the feedback forms. And then I will take you, the last thing will be your certificates, how you get your certificates. I've been side chatting with some people about the Diwala app. So if you haven't yet, download the Diwala app, because that's what I'll be coming to. Thank you. So great.
Sorry, Diana, what did you say you want me to address? There's also a question I want to address. Wangechi has asked in here. Yeah.
Please. And then section 8. Which is closing and feedback.
Okay. So Wangechi, very good point, because you're coming back to how does that information, which we have all put sweat, blood, and tears to report upwards, how does it come back to us? That's what we are saying, that when it's cascaded to global level, we're looking into having dashboards, so that all of us will be able to say, okay, my cohort, my cycle report, which went into my session report, which went into the Kenyan report, and that was reported upwards, you should be able to see your results coming over there. And you should be able to say, okay, Kenya is on track, Botswana is faster than us, that type of thing. But even within countries, it is now incumbent upon the leadership within countries to figure out how to share this information back with the countries. So one of the things we're doing, remember, we are all just starting, so no pressure, it's up to you to define. One of the things we like to do is to have an annual report. So for example, last year I had to report back to the other directors at G4G. What were our numbers? How many mentors were trained? How many mentors actually became active and things like that? So we are going to formalize the process. We will have an annual report for 2021 that will say cohorts, mentors, mentees. Another section, fundraising. Another section, communications. That's what we're going to be doing. It is not cast in stone. From here, the feedback loop within a country is defined by the leadership of that country. Is that clear? Diana, do you have a different method? I don't know what you're planning on doing.
No, and that's why I'm saying specifically, give us the one person who we shall follow up with.
Okay.
Because then that's giving us permission to check in with you, but using an authorized person.
Okay. So basically we're at the end. I can talk about it's the feedback form, really. Okay. I'm sad to say, actually, the only one down, I think, moment I've had in this entire process was we got such poor feedback responses in session 1. I think we only got a 50% response. And like Steffi said, in South Africa, we aim for 100%. I was shocked that people who have come for M&E are not providing feedback. So I'm going to challenge you. Please provide us your feedback. I've put the link in there. We're going to chase after you. We'll send it via emails. We'll send it via WhatsApp. The feedback, like you have seen, is important to make us improve. Namuchana is already asking, how often is this training going to happen? I don't want to go back to Namuchana with us doing the same thing where maybe there's some mistakes or there's some areas where we don't need to be. Give us that feedback so that we improve, so that by the time we're meeting Namuchana at the next quarter's training, we have a refined process. And like Diana said, there's some questions in there. This time we're asking you, what M&E role are you willing to take up? So all your country leads will be able to get that information. So I think my humble ask to you, please give us the feedback so that we can improve. This has been our first time to do it. So we know we can improve. That said, I can't express to you how happy I am. At one point, we had 60-something people in the room. Today, we're going to graduate the first group of women in monitoring for G4G. So please, let's just actually take a moment today, if you can, pour yourself a glass of wine, champagne, and say, yay. We are actually a movement. We are growing. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your patience, your frustrations. I know sometimes it wasn't easy opening the tools. We will respond to every information request you have. Even if we have to have a separate folder for you to put the tools in there, we will do it. And I think that's the commitment I have from my team. So on my part, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. Let's walk this journey together, not by dropping off, but by standing closer together and saying, this is how we can do even better. Thank you so much. Back to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Rita. Nyasha, I can see you there, but are you able to put on your video and just tell us about the certification? Yes. And you can unmute.
Okay. Hi, everyone, once again. I hope we have all downloaded the Diwala app. We are going to receive certificates for this part of the training, the monitoring part of the training. And maybe Diana, you could put up the flyer again, the poster with the steps to getting the certificate so that everyone, and also just to clarify, the certificates will be awarded to the people who attended both sessions. And yes, I think those are the steps to getting the certificates. So after clicking everything and requested the confirmation, one of our team members will then give grant confirmation, and then you receive your certificates. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, thank you. And I believe you can use the contact that you've given us in the chat function to be the main contact. Channel all your comments and questions around the certificates also through the same person, so that we're attending to it collectively. From my part and on the part of the amazing ladies who put together
Diana,
this training. Yes,
Diana,
please, Rita. Yes, please.
Evaluation is on the 8th of May. For those interested.
Like whisper.
I know. But yeah, we hadn't mentioned that. So evaluation is more intense than monitoring, and evaluation is normally a smaller group. So think about it. I think this is now for the country team leads to sit down and say, my people might get overwhelmed if we make them do monitoring and evaluation. In South Africa, we have kind of like, we're splitting the roles. So, but we're going to have it. And even if you're just coming for interest, that's fine. 8th of May. I'm now quiet, Diana.
Yeah, all right, thank you so much. So do you want to see us again? Do you want to see us again? Post yes in the chat bar if you want to see us again. Please, I'm waiting for you. Post yes in the chat bar. So we will be here same time on Zoom, rocking this show. We'll come with new moves, new music, and better slides, dashboards. I don't know. But thank you so much from my heart. Thank you from the heart of all the trainers who, with love, have put up, made every effort to make sure you receive the information and have committed to make sure that this information works for you. I wish you all a wonderful day. Please put on your videos. Let's take our photo and let's just smile. It's the end of a long morning. Let's smile. Let's send some energy out into the universe. Doreen, I hope we can see you. Yes. Smile, flowers. Rita, you're going to take a photo. I don't know how you'll do it when you're taking flowers and, you let us know when you're done. But thank you so much. She's on mute, but I think she's done. Yeah, she's done. All right, Belinda, you always have amazing people next to you. Bye, ladies. You can drop off. Have a wonderful one. Mentors, trainers, if you can stay on, it would be lovely. Like for 1 minute. 1 minute. But thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot, Diana, Rita, and everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye, team. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, bye. Joan, do we get to see your face?
Kwani mnataka majozi aje ama nini? Nyie hamialiki, mbona mwenzaka nasema napenda lakini yeye haniambii, haweza kashindwa kifungo hata 200, ila
bye.
Bye bye. Don't go, Joan.
South Africa and Kenya. Clear that there's Swahili to the South African.
Okay, I think we're good. I've put other people in the waiting room. Rita, over to you.
Okay. You're the one who called for the meeting, but well done, guys.
Okay, well done, well done, well done. Please fill out the feedback form.
Well done.
Thank you so much. We normally do what worked, what didn't work, and the feedback form will help us get it. Of course, you know, we are preparing for 8th. Rita, does that mean we